It is a cold day across North America, but that means it's a perfect day to stay inside and play some video games. Over 25,000 people attempted to make it here, but there is only 100 that advanced to the finals. That's what we're here for today. This is the finals for the PlayStation Cup featuring Fortnite. We'll find out who's able to be the champ. I'm Somebody's Gun, joined alongside Jacob PR. How you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing fantastic, and let me tell you, set the stage perfect because it is freezing outside, so I'm glad to sit here with you and watch some incredible Fortnite action.
Yeah, hopefully all these players warmed up because they have a lot to play for. It's going to be an intense battle, and we saw EU just wrapped up. Shout out to Zeldris. Congratulations on winning the EU Cup, but now it's time for NA. We have to talk about the players, the format, the prizing, all of that good stuff that we have in front of us. And we just mentioned it, but we had 2 rounds of qualifiers just recently, and this is Battle Royale build style. 100 players in a set lobby of 6 matches. Winner goes home the champion.
Yep, with 6 games to be played. You guys know how it goes. You have to make sure through and through that you're standing tough. You can have a bad game, but you have to make sure to stay mentally strong because, as you know, you get points for each and every one of your placements in these games, starting at 75th points. Each elimination is 2 more points added on to your total. So don't fret, SBG. If you find yourself down in Game 5, Game 6, through eliminations, you could find yourself in a comeback road.
And we've seen plenty of those pop-off games, especially later in tournaments when players think, hey, I need to make something happen, I have to make up for this, and then they just pop off and get these big elimination wins. We'll have to see if anyone's able to do it here today, but it's not just placement and eliminations anymore. No. Fortnite has gotten way more advanced. We now have forecast towers as well as Rift Island. Claiming the POI on Rift Island grants you 15 points, where the forecast tower grants you 3, and a little bit extra for the forecast tower, Jacob.
Yep, and it's not only about the points though with these mid-match objectives. You capture Rift Island, you're on top, you get to see the playing field, get your surge, there's a ton of loot up there as well, but I think the most important is the forecast tower. It might only be worth 3 points, but you get to see the next zone, and this solo competition with 100 hungry players running around, being able to see the next zone and set yourself up for where you're going to rotate is very, very important. And it's probably one of the most important things you're going to do with or without the forecast tower.
Yeah, that's a great point right there. And let's look at what these players are playing for today. We have $2,500 going to first place, $1,500 to second, and $1,200 to third, with everyone that qualified to this finals lobby making $100. That's a lot of cash.
Yeah, and you got to realize it starts at 100, like you said. Each and every one of those placement thresholds gets you more and more money. So in Game 6, you find yourself in 20th place. You might be out of reach in first, but there's still hundreds, if not thousands of dollars up for grabs. So I want to see every one of these players hang on to the very last moment and not let their mentality get them down. You got to be able to stay strong through and through, because that's exactly what champions are realistically made of.
Yeah, 100%. It's not about who is able to have the best singular game, but who's able to be the best throughout 6 matches, and that's what it's going to come down to. Although, towards the end of the tournament, like you mentioned, there's still tons to play for. And if you guys want to catch up on anything PlayStation tournament-wise, make sure to check out the YouTube. It's down below. You can check that out. Go possibly watch yourself. Maybe you get yourself in a little highlight reel afterwards in the PlayStation channel. So go give that a shout.
Yeah, you definitely do. I'm actually going to go ahead and check it out. Not to watch any of the game. I just want to see myself talk. That's what I love to do.
I'll listen to you talk all the time, but let's talk about some players and who is going to be competing today. Like we mentioned, we had 100 players qualify to this final, and here is the list of players. We have some of the best players in the world, and then there's some that you might not have heard of yet. So Jacob, kind of talk to me. Is there anyone that stands out to you or someone you're looking for throughout the day?
I mean, I already see a couple names on that first page. We got Chaos Gaming, we got FNCS Champion Bolts, but I could talk about the names I know all day long, but I'm more interested in the names that I don't know, because every single time I turn on the PlayStation Cup featuring Fortnite, there's always somebody I'm like, who is that? I need to know who that is because he is popping off and he looks like the next generation of Fortnite. And as you know, you said it yourself, I think right now we're in the midst of a new generation of up-and-comers.
Yeah, I like to think of this as the second golden age of Fortnite. We've seen plenty of Fortnite players that are competing and competing well, blowing up at the moment. I mean, two names just to mention are Asian Jeff and Cooper. Just over the past few months have become household names, and that's what these players are trying to do. You win one tournament, you start pushing that content. Everyone starts being like, whoa, that guy's crazy good. I need to go find him. And that is where players start to stand out, and that is exactly who we are looking for today. Who is going to stand out and make a name for themselves?
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Nate. I'm looking at you, Nate. LOL. You're the last name I saw on the list right before we switched. But man, that's all it takes. It's just one pop-off moment. And we've seen it so many times throughout the history of Fortnite. And I feel like we're going to see some big pop-off moments here today. It's just a matter of who.
Oh, we definitely will. And not only that, but this is about to be a great year of Fortnite. We're kind of just kicking it off. So if you guys want to get involved in any of these tournaments that PlayStation puts on, make sure to go to compete.playstation.com. You can go see what's going on, what the most recent tournaments are, and get yourself involved, because I'm sure you guys are thinking, oh, $2,500 for first place. I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, I get asked all the time, how do you compete in the PlayStation Cups? How do I know when the PlayStation Cups? Well, now you can't say I didn't know anymore. SBG just filled you guys in.
Yeah, and, maybe you like to get a Discord notification when things happen. Go ahead, scan that QR code, join the Discord, and you can also maybe chat with some people. Say there's a duo tournament that comes up. You need to find a teammate. You want to find somebody to play with in general. Just go ahead, talk to other people in the Discord and figure out what works for you.
Yeah, this is the simplest way to make some friends, and who knows what will happen, because throughout my history watching Fortnite SBG, the amount of duos that you like, I didn't know they would do it together. They look like two separate beings. They look like they wouldn't get along, but then they find out that they are the perfect match, and they end up popping off, winning thousands upon thousands of dollars.
Yeah, they definitely have. And like I just mentioned, it's the beginning of the year. You probably are looking for people to play with, looking for some teammates. So this would be a good way to put a staple and start on the year. Make sure, hey, if I'm looking for teammates, guys, I just won this PlayStation Cup. You may want to duo up with me. It might be worth it. So, that's really what this is about, laying the groundwork for having a great year. I know we're in for an amazing year of Fortnite, and we're kicking it off with the PlayStation Cup featuring Fortnite.
No, we definitely are. And we're kicking off a new season like you're talking about. This is Chapter 5. There's so many new nuances to the game. We have the returning min-match objectives. But tell me about some of the newer things, whether you want to talk about the medallions, the weapons. What is on SBG's mind when Chapter 5 first came out?
There's a lot on my mind, if I'm being honest with you, because I think the weapon mods are the biggest one.
Okay.
Most players are kind of going to trend in a similar direction with the weapons. There's some weapons where you want extended mags. There's some weapons you want the speed mag. So it depends on what weapon you're using is what mod you're going to try and choose. But granted, not every player even has the option to choose the weapon mod, so it'll be interesting to see what players prioritize. And then once we get into these end games, I want to see what players are holding in their loadouts, because that's kind of something that I've played around a lot in my head, like what the ideal loadout is, but I don't know until we start getting into these end games if that's actually going to work. But what about you? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to those medallions, those POIs that the medallions spawn at. How many players are actually going to be brave enough to go and try to secure one of those medallions? Obviously, you get the mythic loot along with it, and then some of those even spawn with the workbenches in which you're talking about. So there's a lot to gather at those POIs. They're kind of scattered around the map, and it all depends on which weapon you actually want to pick up. But to me, it's just about the bravery of being able to do it, because if you're able to get one of those medallions, that's one less heal in theory that you would have to take. And, going from solo victory cups over to the PlayStation Build Cup featuring Fortnite, you're going to see a huge shift. We saw it on EU to start the day. There wasn't that many heals. There wasn't that many medkits being taken towards the late game, because you need that extra resource, whether it's mobility, another weapon, or something to get you out of danger quick.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing that stood out towards the EU Cup. It looked like everyone was looking to hold the grappler. You needed that for the movement. It was way too difficult to rotate. So whether you're able to find it while looting, or you just fight someone for it, eliminate them, steal their loot, and then use that moving forward, that's kind of the key to victory from what I've seen. Is being able to navigate those end games with the grappler has been so successful and saved mats, saved HP, and allowed you to make those rotates a lot easier.
Yeah, it's exactly true, because this is solos. It's so easy to kind of get caught off guard, especially in those moving zones where you're running out of mats, low on resources. The grappler is going to be able to either save a lot of those resources or have you a little less worried throughout that rotation, because you're able to kind of zip your way from point A to point B in order to get to where you want to be. But it's just about, can you get the grappler? Are you going to be able to use it? Are players around you just going to let you rotate for free, because they're going to have that same decision, especially if they're out of mats, out of resources, low on Storm Surge Agent. There's so many different possibilities that I think this season allows for a little bit of flexibility when it comes to the loadout.
And
Just a little
it does look like game number 1 is getting ready. Just taking a look at this beautiful map that we get to play on. Sometimes I always forget to take a step back and just look at the beauty of Fortnite itself and how nice it is to see the game played and shown at like the highest level. And that's what we're going to watch today. I'm always fiending for some high level Fortnite, so that's what I'm excited about.
No, I'm excited as well. We got right now Snooty over here. That's one of the medallions. You get that mythic shotgun, be able to pack a punch rather quickly. But you can see a lot of these players, especially if you look at the left of the map, have different ideas of where they want to land. They don't want to just go for what people would think the most overpowered POI is. They want to be able to set themselves up, play the full 6 games out, because it's about consistency overall, not just one pop-off game.
Yeah, I think that's a huge key, is setting the tone early for where you want to land in this tournament, because the players that don't necessarily have a game plan for a drop are at a huge disadvantage versus the ones that do. And not only that, the players that have fought off spawn at their POI so many times, like if you're just constantly playing ranked and fighting for your POI, you have such a big advantage versus the other one. So I'm looking forward to seeing some kind of new techniques, some new strategy coming out from these players, and honestly just showcasing their knowledge of the game. So I'm always a big fan of the 200 IQ plus plays.
Yeah, I'm seeing Chaos Gaming kind of looting up. Throughout my history watching Chaos, he's not afraid to take these off-spawn battles. Does come out on top a good portion of the time, but fighting from the low ground, not a lot of builds to work with. You see him trying to close the distance rather quickly. A very brave game plan from Chaos to start off, but if this one works out, he's going to have confidence. Oh,
it's just going right for it, but not able to hit that big shot just enough.
yeah.
Rizzy gonna be able to take the first elim that we get to see of the day, and gotta feel good after that one.
Yeah, just not a ton of loot where they're actually landing. It's a little bit of a split drop. There's about like 7 chests directly towards that building, so it's not a lot of loot to fight over, and already a third party is already trying to interrupt. And you know as well as I do, when you hear those shots into the distance, especially off that spawn, you realize the resources are probably low. Now's my chance to pounce, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. Take advantage of time while he has it.
Try to close this gap, and that player quickly went from being so aggressive to slowing this fight down a little bit, not knowing if they actually want to take it. And this fight's appearing to stall at the moment. Looks like Rizzy's going to try and get on out of there and decide to fight for another day. Not always going to be the best play is to take every fight, and we see this other player backing off, deciding it's not worth chasing.
If he just knew the loadout, he didn't have any variation of the shotgun. He had a huge advantage in that battle. But that's the beauty of Fortnite. Sometimes when the third party comes in, you don't know exactly what loot they possess. Sometimes it's easier to take that safe road, get out, and try to make sure you play the game, gather as many points as you can. But CR7 fan over towards Lavish Layer. This is one of those medallion POIs, probably one of the strongest ones as well, simply due to the drum shotgun that does drop. It allows you to just pack a punch so quickly.
I feel like most players undervalued that auto shotgun right off the bat, but I think now a ton of players have realized, well, when we're in late game and I have to jump in a box, I would much rather a shotgun that just continuously shoots versus one where I'm going to have to hit one shot. So I have seen a lot more players picking up the auto than I expected to at first, and I like the constant iterations of this game and the knowledge by these players.
Yeah, it allows flexibility as well in the play style for a lot of players, you know, playing the box fights, trying to go for the one pumps versus just trying to get in your face with the frenzy auto shotgun, try to end the fight rather quickly. Sam, you can see him not really having a ton of loot. going ahead and popping that big pot just a little too soon, not getting the most out of it. But for him, he's just trying to move around, not let his opponent know exactly where he's located, so that way he can try to survive. And now that he has that grapple that we're talking about, he's just trying to get out, set himself up. He has loot that he's happy with for now, and you know as well as I do, it may not be the best, but surviving to gather that loot elsewhere on the map, I think is the play.
It's enough to play with, and that's really all that matters. Get a loadout that you can at least play the game with. But we saw right there, we haven't talked about how now heals work slightly different. So like big pots, med kits, they take a second in order to start popping. As we see, Vortex gets a big shot there. I'll finish my thought in a second after this fight takes place. But Plasmafy putting pressure on Vortex, and it looks like he's going to try and close this fight out.
Yeah, he's trying to take advantage very, very quickly of the damage that you put down. And sometimes that is a huge battle here in Fortnite, being able to end those fights as quick as you would hope. Plasmafy is going to stabilize, probably even try to disengage, but from one fight to the next, CR7 fan quickly tries to edit the comb, but doesn't get the floor, quickly gets sent back to the lobby in game number 1.
Able to get that elimination. Little trade. That's why you don't jump in boxes, my friends. But Glow now looking to go for the vault. Already able to get that mythic shotgun and in a good position to play this out. Needs to be careful though. People like to sneak on you when you go in those vaults.
Oh, on the map, gets taken down, and that's just kind of one of those unfortunate circumstances that happen. You're just trying to loot up, you're trying to separate yourself, just trying to box up, just kind of play the waiting game for a lot when it comes to the zone. But other players kind of see that as a sign of weakness. They see you boxed up very, very early, not trying to fight, and that's when they try to attack. We talked about mid-match objectives, and we're going to see the first player claim not only 3 points, but the forecast tower. That's what I'm mostly interested on this player, Dirty Karim, is how he's able to play with the forecast tower from here on out.
And we talked about how valuable it was, and we saw Dirty Karim already deciding he needs to prioritize this. So before the players even came out or the NPCs even spawned, he had this already boxed. He knew they were going to spawn there and quickly drops it down so that way he can keep control of it. Just a really smart play, and players continuing to prioritize that throughout these games is going to help them be super successful.
Yeah, you see him just trying to loot up, but even though they know the forecast tower is already captured, they're just trying to see what loot is left behind, gather the same type of material. Bolts, talked about him to kind of start the show. Not necessarily looking the most strong in terms of his entire loadout. Still needs some HP to gather, but he's a player that knows how to work with less.
Definitely does, and we're going to see a lot of players holding that burst SMG just like Bolts was. I think, to me, that's the best weapon in solos. It has good enough range to put damage out from a distance, and then when you get in kind of short to medium range, it is by far the best pressure weapon at the moment. Although we can see what Scary Eagle's holding, as if you could put a drum or a speed mag on that, it is going to be super valuable, but generally, I'm going burst SMG.
Okay, but if you're on this weapon, are you going drum mag, or are you going speed mag that tries to go for a sneaky shot? Scary, I give him all the credit in the world because he has to rotate in a whole nother direction. He has the grapple, so he's able to get a couple of those shots just in case Storm Surge is going to be prevalent in this match, and then he continues on with his journey. The big thing I'm going to watch out for is now he's given away his position, and with still some rotation to go, it leaves him susceptible to not only shots for the player on his left, but now those two players in front of him.
Yeah, they're going to be looking at gatekeep just a little bit. They hear the shots, maybe see them visually on their screen. But actually, neither player, none of them are looking his direction, so he should be able to move on over here, get himself in a good spot. As Patek looking to make a shot here, has some damage, but nothing significant on this player. Slowing the fight down now as multiple players start to engage from distance, closing this gap.
Yeah, and I like the way he's kind of aware of the possibility of so many players being around, because it's easy for him to just try to go in, end the fight, get what he can out of it, but you have to be aware that it's not as simple as it looks. It's not just a 1v1. There's 72 players still left on this map. The shots can come from any direction at any time, and right there is proof in the pudding. He just gets taken out, but with that medallion, what he's trying to do is just stall for time. It only heals to about 150, so he's just trying to get the 50 shield from the medallion and then pop that big pot afterwards so he can get full shield and HP.
being able to create that distance, put a few walls in between you, and just slow things down is super helpful. And we see we hit those able to get enough distance and enough time to be able to get those heals off. Now we're going to pop the big pot, so as healthy as they can be, minus a couple of HP, but we won't harp on that for too long. Now the rotations are going to have to start to come through. We're seeing our first zone. We're going to wind up towards the west side of the map, and Dorito already looking to play for a combat cache, as we know they're slightly less valuable than they've been in previous seasons, but I still think there's a ton of value in them.
Yeah, you can at very minimum get some metal, which he only has 114, so you can kind of think in theory craft. He's after the extra shields, he's after the material, and then since he's kind of in the center of the zone overall, that allows him to kind of just sit in that position, not really make too much noise, let those players around him rotate, because they realize the cache is his already. He's no worth fighting for, especially in the solo competition with so many third, fourth, and fifth party opportunities literally inches nearby.
It's a dangerous situation when you have all those players. You got lurking eyes just trying to figure out who's nearby, and we see Patake already using that new item, the Flowberry Fizz. Came out somewhat recently, gives you that low gravity as well as 5 shield per second. And if you had a teammate, we're playing solos, but if you had a teammate, it also heals them.
There's a 0 gravity as well, as Lennox doesn't need any of that. Lands a huge shot to start off the fight. Ends it just as quickly as he started it. Not only does he get it refreshed in terms of his mats, but you can see the heals as well. A lot of options here. And he has a bunch of time as well, since he doesn't have to rotate. A lot of these players getting dropped off of the map very, very early on. But SPG, as you know, it's only game number 1. It's very, very early. So if you got eliminated at this point in the game, what are you probably thinking? What are you doing to prepare for game 2?
I'm watching. One, I'm going to go watch how I got eliminated so I can learn from exactly what happened. And then secondly, I'm going to go watch the rest of this game, see how the top players that finish in this game are doing it. What are they holding in their loadout? What's their positioning look like? How quickly are they farming their materials? What are they focusing on? There's so many things you can learn from, and just because you go down early doesn't mean this game is over for you. It's time to think about next game and start learning from this one.
I like that. I like that. Next time I'm playing a solos competition, I wrote down those notes. I'm going to go ahead and see if it helps me. I need all the help that I can get. Bates in a different position, already won elimination. See him spreading the loot out, leaving it behind because you see he's just trying to grab those berries. That's going to allow him to quickly get his shield up, and you can see him backtracking in place to back to that fizzberry juice. He's just trying to go ahead and use as many of the resources around him to the most optimal way possible.
Yeah, it's smart. Try and hold it. Sometimes that is not the right play, because that inner loot goblin, you're trying to save some heals, you wind up spending more. Luckily for him, and I say luckily, he probably did enough scouting to see there wasn't many players nearby, so it's worth it to go get a little greedy, grab those extra shields, and then go back to your box and chill. But here's our first Rift Island. We're going to have to see who tries to capture this, because you get a lot of points. We talked about it earlier. It's 15 points for capturing that. That is half a victory royale. So the players that are able to grab this at least twice, I'd say, are going to be easily in our top 10 if they're making it this far in game and claiming the POI.
Yeah, you're to see Josh on the other side knocking at the door. 2 players immediately go up to contest it. And there's so many other players around at the bottom of Rift Island, probably trying to take the top of Rift Island as well. This just became a huge battle and a huge risk for some of these players. And depending on who has the most heals when this one continues on, who's brave enough to continue to try to fight it, I think that's going to be who has the true upper hand here fighting for this Rift Island.
Yeah, I think we can even go a little more micro into this entire situation, but if we look at zone, half the island's going to be in this next zone and half's not. So whoever's lucky enough to be positioned on that half is going to be able to hold the island. So that could be a huge key to this as well, is who put themselves on one side versus the others. There is unlimited players continuing to join this position. And
the possibility is just endless, because not only you got the zip lines to get on top, there's rifts all around Rift Island. So this is not going to be an easy one, but Josh having 3 medkits gives me a little bit of confidence in terms of his survival. I'm not going to say he has the upper hand in terms of winning it overall, but in terms of being able to survive, very long on this Rift Island. He is going to be one of the players I am looking out for, and you can see the difference that he's doing. He's just separating himself, so he's not on that ground layer. He's built at least one layer up. He has piece control, and he's built in full metal, and it almost solidified itself, so he has a lot of defenses here if anybody tries to bulldoze into his box.
Just patience. That's literally the key here, is who's going to be the most patient and honestly stubborn. Everyone knows what they're all trying to do by claiming this here. And if you guys didn't know, you can actually claim the island from down below this. So we've now started to see players prioritizing below because it's less likely to be third-partied. But it's also much easier to get trapped down there.
Yeah, it's just one of those fights that it's prolonged, especially in game one. I could see maybe more of a risk-taking scenarios from these players fighting on Rift Island as the day gets long, maybe game 3, 4, towards the tail end. But for now, these players are still feeling each other out. You know what I mean? They're still in a position, a very, very relatively even position on the leaderboard. Only a few points really granted on or in the game so far. So it's just about taking it in stride, one step at a time, and feel your opponent out. And I think Josh is playing it right here, because now that he has an escape plan through the top, he has piece control all around, so he's setting himself up here to give himself options.
We're slowly starting to see a couple of players decide it's not worth it for them. The posturing is also fairly important too, because if you're willing to give this up in game 1, well then players know moving forward, I don't have to worry about this player. I don't have to worry about that player. They ran away too quickly, and it does look like Josh might wind up being one of those. He's deciding not to tank the storm as glow season, looking to hold this and be the first to capture Rift Island.
If only Josh knew the loadout. There's no HP on glow. He can outlast him by a large mile with the 3 med kits, but he's going to go and take the launch pad out. And so Rift Island in game 1 is going to go to glow season, get himself a huge boost of points here in this game. So now you got to think already, he is the player to beat. He's the one to take down, because you don't want to let him just keep collecting these points, whether he's gathering 2 points per elimination or simply surviving and collecting those placement points.
Able to use that rift, or not the rift, the launch pad as well. And surprisingly, just as I say that, I was going to say no one's shooting at him as he just rotates into zone. He's actually going to get in a good position if he can land and build out here. And doesn't even get focused, so that's a huge win for Glow. He's getting 15 points for that, able to rotate in. I would guess he's in this next zone as well, and now you're going to be able to make that rotation in pretty healthy.
Yeah, and you can see the sacrifice that he made, dropping some of those big pots for the med kits. He knew, since he was one of the last people to leave Rift Island, he was going to be susceptible to so many shots. He found himself a spot at the edge of zone, but as the next one appears, it's a little bit of a journey for him, and the longer it takes, you can see it's already becoming more and more stacked.
If you guys haven't really watched any of these stacked late games, whether it be solos, duos, trios, everyone just pretty much boxes up, jockeys for position, and tries to hold their ground, as everyone that has to rotate in is going to get shot at, while everyone that's already in is taking shots. But now Glow is in a compromised position, but making a nice play here, has the right angle, player's position in his box, and if he wants to take this, he can, but it doesn't look like this would be the right move based on where zone is. Nonetheless, Glow is still looking for it. Now decides, okay, let's back out. Let's play this a little differently.
Yeah, probably trying to just intimidate his opponent, let him know I'm here to fight. As soon as he saw him back off, that's when Glow immediately tries to disengage. And now he has the 0 gravity effect. I wanted to see him use that grappler just to get out of there as fast as possible, but Snowy on the tail end tags him up just a little bit. Enough to know that, hey, I'm behind you. I'm now overtaking you on this rotation. And that is something that Glow Season is going to have to watch out for, that he's stabilizing himself. He's taking this time, which is good, but at that same time, he's going to allow for all these players to just pass him up.
It does look, he can sneak along this right side if he wants to.
Or not.
Still deciding to take shots at players. That's, questionable, but we'll let Glow do him and continue to make this rotate in, as looks like very little shots have been fired forward. He might even be able to play up on high ground, as there's another player behind him taking shots. As we see, here's what zone's starting to look like. If it pulls in the direction of Glow, this will be a favorable positional play for Height.
I think he heard you. He tried to go for a little bit of that high ground, gets dropped down just a little bit. But the unfortunate thing for Glow here is even though he can still try to play this one out, try to play the long game, if you look at his resources, not necessarily his health, but his mats, he knows the eventuality of him having to go for a refresh is huge. So now he's just trying to heal up, get himself to 200 HP and shield combined, and maybe try to get in on one of these players that are going to have to rotate here in a few seconds.
Yeah, we're box jumping at some point. It's coming, because there's no way he's going to be able to do more than just rotate into this zone and then box up. That's about as many mats as he's able to hold at the moment. And we're going to be looking for refreshes. Dorito, who's a very aggressive player. I've seen Dorito just run through lobbies in first rounds of tournaments. But now that we're in the final round, it gets a little more complicated. As we see, he's slowed it down. Only has that HP left, no shield. We're seeing the zones, the pulls, all the grapples coming through as everyone's looking to make these rotations.
And it's just a scary thought, too, looking at the zone. More than half of it is water in this zone. You're going to have to use resources to build over the water or just be so congested like you're seeing on the eastern side of that zone. Those players that are towards the south, I think they have the most flexibility. They have the most comfortability on that side, not really having to worry about too much. You see Josh boxed up next to a player. He's ready to go in, try to go ahead and send this player back to the lobby. But quick thinking, quick maneuvering to get out and above Josh and save himself some more time.
Now Josh is looking to slow this down, focus on getting in zone himself as Storm continues to move, boxing up, a little higher layer. I think the players that are able to navigate these like mid to high layers are going to be the most successful, because once you get down low, that grapple blade gets so hard to use at least well on all four of your moves, because once you get in that congestion down low, there's just less space. It becomes harder to make these rotates, and Josh, we see, goes up a couple layers, starts to look, and that's exactly why he did it.
And you can see he's fitting relatively comfortable above the surge threshold, but by only a few hundred. You know that can shift, that can change in a quick blink of an eye. So you have to be very, very cognizant of that being a possibility. See Console Bot trying to go ahead and set himself up for this next rotation, and it's scary. Usually you have a couple people on the front side of the zone. Now with 43 people alive, more than half of the players left alive now are on that front side of the zone, so rotating here is going to be tricky. You have to pick the perfect moment.
Yeah, it's more about timing than how in these rotations, and we can see all these players already starting to make their movements. You want to go with the pack. You don't want to be the lone rotator as we move through, as Ethan Kobe trying to get themselves in a decent position. Zone has started to appear. It's now no longer all in Storm, and there's plenty of space as Console Bot, one of those players without the grapple blade, able to make that rotation in.
Yeah, but he's using the Fizz Juice to go ahead and get himself low gravity, make the rotations quick. Spots a player ahead of everybody else, quickly becomes a target. Fires a couple shots in those direction, not really able to land, but you see so many players alive on so many different layers. That's what makes this so tricky, because I feel like there's no perfect scenario. It's all about what you do from here on out.
It definitely is. Even Rexy, who appears to be on the high ground, does not want to play it. You don't want to take any chances with any of those grapple blades or players just jumping up with the low gravity from the Flowberry. We see next zone is going to pull, so luckily it doesn't go into the water for these players, but it does still stay right on the edge of that, where it's going to be questionable whether or not you decide to go up on the mountain or you stay around the side.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of an elevation shift as well, so if you have the grapple, that's going to be your best case scenario, and you're seeing more than half the lobby whiz past everybody else, going up and over, trying to find themselves that safe spot. Dash Rune, he's able to take down Josh, ends up in another fight. Back-to-back eliminations for Dash. This is a huge point boost late into this game, but with 32 people still left alive, there are more than half of the points still left on the board.
Able to take down Lennox there. That's 2 eliminations for him, and also that big refresh that's going to allow you to still stay here. Rexy able to put himself on the side of zone. This is exactly where you want to be. He's in a good spot. Going to be able to rotate through on this left side if he needs to. We're going to see just in 7 seconds where the next zone's going to pull. We're down to 30 players as we move into the final zones of this end game.
It's going to be tricky. Picking that perfect moment is huge. You see Rexy just biding his time, peeking through the cone. Information here is going to be important. He sees not only players positioned directly to his right, but below him as well. Noisy doing the same. Find a quick elimination onto Yan. Goes for the loot before he makes his next rotation over.
It looks like Dash might be trying to play for high ground. No, just elevating. We are starting to see some players go up. Looks like that's Ladies Mac going up. Dolazar able to take them down. They're up on the high ground for now. Not super healthy. And Dash, I think, recognizes that. Already starting to position up. And are they going to look to make a play for height? Not just yet. Just moving through these zones, staying on these higher layers, but not necessarily going for height.
Yeah, he's doing a very, very cheap economic build. They're only using a few builds when he has to, boxes up when he needs to, and trying to go for that high ground. And that's going to be a big challenge on to Rexy. He spots that one out. That was important for Rexy to spot it out because the chop was coming out as well. He saves himself another day, but 15 builds. It's going to be hard to hold on to the position, especially since they keep trying to chop him down.
Rexy's desperate now, just looking for a refresh, trying to find something for free, hopefully not having to put too much work in. Luckily, he is not being contested for this high ground position, but now there's a player on his wall. That fight could mean everything for him as Dash finally does go up, able to save a ton of materials, uses the count cone to try and stay above, but he gets coned himself. Dash now going to give this up as he goes front side, and there's not much left to play for height as now it's Rester up top.
Yeah, perfect play from Dash to give that one up. Fortunately, it came at a cost, but he's still not giving up on chopping down that high ground. Another player comes down, but the grapple's going to be able to save him. And instantly, you see him go right back on up to try to solidify it yet again.
Dash still somehow staying alive. Not much left in his inventory, but he's got enough. He has those floppers if he wants to play for heals. And we see so many players going down, wall to wall. They're running out of space in order to be able to fight for it. We see your bro Ken already trying to play for some space, and now it goes down. Sam Nerd's able to get one, but Rise goes down right there. And now there's only 9 players remaining.
That was still a good amount of points, even though he got taken out simultaneously. Top 8 we go. Ken's going to be one of them. Fizzberry Juice coming out, trying to give himself the zero gravity, making rotation easier. But if you look at the sky, there's one man standing tall. It's Glow Season. He has a stranglehold over the game. He just needs to be able to close this one out.
He does, but there's not much left to be able to close this out. He's got a couple of builds, and if he gets chopped, he's trying to slow himself down, drop down. He is able to get another elimination. Shout out to the Storm for that one. We see the pressure coming from up above. He has plenty of ammo if he just wants to spray, but he goes down. He's able to get another elimination. That gives him some materials. It looks like it's just Siphon. What can he do with this?
He's going and trying to stay ahead of the zone. He knows he has no HP. Here's the 2 players falling. Takes down Yasir, but instantly gets dropped by Reset, who takes the game with 2 eliminations.
What a game there. Glow Season having an absolute pop-off game, but Reset able to get that elimination, get the win. I have to expect, though, that after that massive game, we're going to be looking at a leaderboard with Glow Season up on top.
Yeah, that was huge. And Glow Season was terrorizing everybody. You even saw him get Ken, who got taken out to the Storm itself. But that was victorious because of the med kits. He stayed behind in the zone. He started to heal up. He let everybody bypass him and start to fight each other. And as soon as he made his way in towards the zone, it was like taking candy from a baby. A couple shots, Glow Season went down, and the game was his.
I thought it was all over. I mean, we saw him in like 8th, 9th zone. He had not much left, but able to get the refreshes, chain them together, put in a solid game, and somehow Reset, who was in a very similar position, like a zone or 2 before, not many materials, but able to stay alive just long enough, get that refresh, put himself in a position to win that game.
Yeah, and you can see a couple of these players that were at once high ground got taken out throughout the course of that last rotation. It just goes to show that you can hold on to it, but hold on to it too early means you're going to waste a lot of mats and resources. Everything comes crumbling down, and Reset is just going to steal that one away. But you see the total points. Glow Season, even though he got 2nd place, 52 points, 15 came from that Rift Island.
Yep, and that's going to be huge. So even though he's not able to win the game, still going to have a pretty big lead. Had the most eliminations in the lobby, tied with Cyween. And right there, that's a solid game number 1. That's a great start. And I'd say now you've solidified yourself as like a top half player in the first game. Now, what are you going to be able to do to continue that?
Yeah, and Rift Island, 6 out of 6. I don't know if that can be a strategy for close season, but if you minus his 15 points, they're tied at 37, and he takes it because the V are in first place. So only time will tell if that will continue. But if you're looking at some of these other players, man, going down very, very early, you see Bolts, FNCS champion, in 60th place, only really able to get 1 point in that game. And if you look at that thought process, an FNCS champion, 60 plays, 1 point, that goes to show how tough this lobby actually is.
It definitely is. You never know who you're going to run into when you're taking these fights, so that's why you have to be so careful when you're taking these early and mid-game fights, because there's not a ton of long-term value in it.
Yeah.
You may get a couple of points from the elimination, resources, whatever it may be, but that risk of having to take that fight then prevents you from up to 30 points that you could get from winning the game. So we'll have to see how those players decide to manage those, because based on the point structure, you really have to make it into late game to get any significant placement points.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those tough battles, but I spoke about this to kind of talk the game. I prefaced it a little bit. It's about that mental toughness, because you can go down in one game, but we've seen in the 6 games format, sometimes 4 games is enough to set yourself over the top. So it's being able to bounce back, dust yourself off, and really hate game number 2 hard and forget that game number 1 really even existed.
Yeah, one thing that is able to set themselves over the top is the PlayStation 5 with the Western Digital SSD built in. It is the official licensed SSD for the PlayStation 5, and its exclusive heat link design, well, that's going to keep you running cool so your PS5 doesn't overheat and you're not cooking burgers on your PlayStation.
Oh, that is just fancy. There's so much space for games, so much space for Fortnite outfits, emotes, everything that's coming out, and for your clips as well. If you guys get a clip on the PlayStation, make sure you guys save it, show it off, so we can all see it live in action yet again.
And make sure to tweet that out so that we can see what's going on. And we got game number 2 coming up. Based on what happened in game number 1, I gotta ask, Jacob, what do you expect to be different, be the same? Like, what are you expecting here in game number 2?
I feel like a lot of players are realizing, like, yeah, I don't think they're strangers to solos. I think it's just coming back into their mindset about how you have to play solos, being able to rotate. Sometimes, you know, you have to let those players in front of you rotate so then you can rotate right after. I think a lot of these players have now gotten a feel, set themselves in the environment after game 1, and are going to be more sure of themselves in a lot of their moves, because it's that hesitancy is when you start to second guess yourself that those mistakes will happen over and over. It'll be like an avalanche, and then sometimes you're just not able to pick yourself back up.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's definitely some rust, especially when you haven't had a ton of tournaments recently. So game number 1, you get the nerves out of the way, you brush some of the rust off. Yeah. If you went down early, well, you get to try again in game number 2 here, and hopefully it goes better. Nonetheless, Glow Season, I think you kind of set the tone for yourself going for that Rift Island, and now it's going to be a great position to be in, knowing that, hey, I claimed this first one, everyone else left. No one else wanted to stay in zone. I was willing to do it, and now he's going to be able to hopefully repeat.
Yeah, and you look throughout the course of the game, we did see him a few times throughout that last game, and it just seemed like a lot of the moves he was making, like, not only was it calculated, but he was confident in those moves. Everything had a purpose, whether he was taking a wall, putting a piece, going for high ground, giving up high ground at certain points of the game, and I want to see a lot of players adapt that same mindset.
We'll have to see what adaptations come in game number 2. Sometimes it's a little too early to make changes. Other times it's the exact point. We see the map already starting to get spread out. Everyone choosing their location. Based on what I've seen, Lavish Lair is the most contested POI at the moment, along with Fence and Field. So those two are going to be the most difficult. And our game 1 leader, not the winner, but the leader after game number 1, Glow Season, is already in a position to be playing for that Mythic once again.
Yeah, was he the one that got it off the rip? I don't even think he was the one that initially got, because you can see where he's landing towards Lavish Layer. It's on the south side. That's more towards the reboot. There is loot, but most of the loot is towards the actual house and the little one that's right behind it, in the roof more particularly. So it's an interesting strategy for Glow Season to just play the outskirts to start this game off and then try to third party. But it does look like, I was going to say somebody's nearby, but I got tricked by the bot.
You let other people do the work for you, you know, instead of having to go play for it, take out the bot yourself or the boss. Let somebody else do all the hard work. You just go clean it up, and CR7 fan is going to be the one that has the position to play for the boss if they want to. Otherwise, we may see this get stalled out and delayed for a little bit longer.
Yeah, and with 30 chests over towards Lavish Layer, a workbench, the Mythic, you can see why it's one of the hot POIs to kind of drop at. You see Glow Season, slowly but surely, trying to make his way over, but I think he's going back to the old tricks. What worked in the past, he's going back to that vending machine. He's trying to get himself gold, so that way when he eventually goes towards those workbenches, he has enough to get his perfect loadout from top to bottom, every piece, every attachment.
Yeah, it's a smart point. How you maximize gold, that's a whole nother conversation we can talk about. But right now, the conversation is the piece control coming through. Zydle's trying to just get out of this box. Is every position he goes in, he gets walled off. Now going to be able to slow down this fight, find a right angle. Has all of the firepower if he needs it, but it's a matter of if he feels confident taking this fight. And based on his movements, I don't think he does.
Nah, it just seems like he's playing a little bit too fast. He's playing to survive rather than playing to win the fight. Again, another shot. Shield being dropped. Somebody else on the other side. Noisy doesn't want to give up on the damage he put out. Tries to go for a P piece. Go ahead and predicts where he's going to go. Almost goes down. That was close for Noisy. That was close, and it almost makes me wonder if he just played offensively on the other side instead of just trying to run away.
And Noisy just jumps right in. I don't know that that's the right play. That's not how I would teach it, but it works at times. Sometimes players just are too nervous to be able to confidently play, and if you're putting enough pressure on them, you'll see them start to get nervous, and you'll hit the shots they won't. That's kind of what happened right there. Is Cloudsy's now looking to play for exactly what we talked about. We see On One up above, Glow Season in the distance. Cloudsy doesn't necessarily want to make this move, put himself in a poor position.
Yeah, you almost, with so many players around, you almost don't want to be the one to start the fight either. It does take a couple of seconds longer than usual. The NPC does regain health, but Glow is just biding his time. Look at him playing so careful, and his position right now is not even being given away by the player. It's the bot who's giving away his position, so Glow knows that one to be true, and you can see him reposition himself. He still wants his position to be hidden.
Yeah, not necessarily committing to it yet. Also not farming the materials that I would expect players to need. Yes, you'll be able to get materials later on, but if you get in any kind of prolonged engagement here, you're going to run into issues where you're 1 or 2 boxes away from having to make a final stand.
Yeah, he's questionable, I would say, but no, I'll give him the credit, SPG. He's won Game 1, or he's gotten in first place, 52 points, got Rift Island. Dry cereal, maybe he needs some milk right now because he is just getting attacked, pounced on. I do believe that was Dasher Rooney I might have saw on the other side. Of Dasher Rooney, we've already seen some big eliminations in Game 1 alone, and with an isolated fight on the side of the map, I don't think this is one he wants to give up too easy, but I might have spoke too soon because it does look like he might just probably be the gatekeeper. Get ahead of Dry Cereal and try to hold him out.
Yeah, it looks like both players are just going to look to make that rotation instead. Tune back into the battle. Seems like a never-ending battle over at the Lavish Lair. CR7 fan on one. Looking for a little angle here, a position to play from, but nothing as of right now. Having to back off yet again. Glow Season going to be the one that claims the Mythic. Everyone else going to have to decide whether or not it's worth it to fight him for it.
Yeah, take note, though, of Glow Season's rotations in and out a lot of these builds. He's going every single time into his old builds. He's making sure he has safety, making sure that he has the piece control. And that's going to be very, very important to be able to survive in a fight like this with so many players around, especially since you're outside of the zone. It's not a worry for now, but give it another couple minutes where everybody's going to be forced to rotate side by side.
It does look like some players are even starting to move out here, so the patience is paying off. This could possibly be a time where we see Glow Season just relax and chill, focus on that farm, and it looks like CR7 is doing the same one. Both players spent enough time fighting earlier in this game where now it's just, hey, we gotta relax, we gotta farm some materials, we got a lot more video game to play.
Yeah, and they already know that the medallion's already gone. But you can see Onwin probably in the back of his mind. Now, obviously, this first priority here is going to be farming, get the materials. That's something that's very, very pivotal in Fortnite, obviously. But for him, he could be waiting for that vault to open so that way he can have access to that workbench, go ahead and upgrade his loadout, maybe anything that might get left behind. Definitely does have options here. And since he has the medkits, in theory, he could rotate away, make it look like he's leaving, and try to backtrack towards that same workbench. We'll find out what he does later on in the game, but you can see how active everything is around the map. Every POI.
Yeah, everyone needs to be making moves. It's not good enough just to sit here and rest on whatever you've done already as we tune in with Day.
You know who this is, right? It's our boy Deshaun.
I know Deshaun.
That's our boy Deshaun. Yeah, that's my boy. I'm looking for him in this game. He didn't have the most impressive game one, but from playing with him myself, it's his mindset and it's his confidence as the games progress that I like and I really take note of. So I'm not too worried for Deshaun just yet. Maybe towards game 3, maybe towards game 4. See where he's at on the leaderboard. We'll check in on him there. But for now, he's in zone, pretty safe, has some elevation. And you can see him go at surveying the land along with all of these other players rotating around. They're just trying to figure out where other players are currently positioned at so that way they can make their own perfect rotation.
Hey, if Deshaun has a couple of bad games, just go ahead. You jump in a call with him, get that little reset.
You got me?
Get his mind right. Yeah,
okay,
we got you. Don't worry.
Pate. We've seen him in this position in game 1. He was victorious, able to come out alive, but he's not really getting any time here. And that's the thing. With the new mechanics of the way you heal up, you can't really grant anybody any time to try to pop it off because they can slowly but surely gain their HP back. Page is getting attacked from all other angles. Third party even coming in. He needs to try to figure out a way to kind of solidify himself in a position, but he's also running out of builds, SPG. A few seconds, that fight could be over.
Yeah, the pressure from Polio is just relentless. Not giving him a moment to even pop a big. Had to cancel a couple of them. Now able to get at least a little bit of HP here. And shout out to those third parties. Take, if you know who this is when you're hitting the VOD reviews, go give them a thank you afterwards because they probably just saved you here.
And more than likely, for one, it's not fun for him, but on the other side, it allows him to breathe. Yasir takes a huge shot, and Yasir is one of those players that he's not scared to fight, but being down 75 shield to kind of start it off, this is where he is going to try to play a little defensively and try to pop a couple of those big pots, getting himself back up to fighting shape.
We see those players are starting to try and fight for the combat caches. That's why a lot of these mid-game fights are happening. Players aren't necessarily looking to take random fights with 30 players around you, but when there's something at stake, such as the combat cache, it makes it worth it.
Everybody rotating. Good to see Pate back into tip-top shape, allowing himself the freedom to continue to rotate, gather as many builds as possible. And that's the thing with so many players around Pate and not enough materials, he's going to have to station himself here, gather as much as possible before he rotates, because on this next rotation, he could become a target, and he will not have enough builds to continue to hold on to these walls.
Somehow he's luckily just rotating around out in the open. I don't know how this is working, but for now it seems to be the play. Maybe players think he's trying to bait him, and it's like, yeah, just shoot at me. I'll W key you. Come on. And so far it's worked, but now we're tuning in down below fencing fields. We saw what's going on the outskirts of it. Now let's go down below as Yashir. Getting in a little engagement here. The piece control comes through, but Shira able to get enough space. Now a wall at his back. There ain't much place to go.
Up for forward. You see him just trying to build himself inches. Sometimes it's just one box at a time. Take that piece control back. You see her trying to do the same thing. Get as much of those resources back. The unfortunate thing about it all is that it's wood. You see him trying to sneak a shot. I give him A for effort. Unable to really execute. Takes a little bit of damage. Not too much to worry about until then. That's where a brute force comes in. You see her being driven back further and further from that spot. Forced to retreat. Luckily for him, though, everybody's really busy in their own exchanges, their own small battles that they really can't pay attention to them.
Yeah, it seems like anytime a player gets into a fight, there's another player looking to get involved as well, and then what goes from a 1v1 turns into a 1v2, v1, v2, v4, v3, where everyone's just kind of fighting, shooting one another, and no one really knows what's going on. So, nice play there from Yasir. I struggle with that one, but just get it on out of there. Don't get caught in all that craziness down at the bottom, below fence and fields. Focus on your positioning, your rotates, and it does look like that's what a lot of players are starting to do. Is fourth zone already showed itself, and we'll start to move here in a second.
Yeah, and you just got to be careful though too, because it's like almost a fine line between rotating away from your opponent and looking weak and having them in their head thinking this might be a free elimination, a free couple of points. See, it's almost a fine line, especially in solos like this. But if you look right now, Tom, even though he's outside of zone, he's not in the worst position in the world. Just north of him, you have about 5, 6, 7 players stacked up as we moved over towards Rift Island. Another grouping of 6 players over on this side of the map. Nobody very, very early on, or as early in game 1, being daring enough to go up. But it's going to be Dry Cereal who makes that daring play to get on top of Rift Island first.
And it looks like no one yet wants to make that move, so Dry Cereal's going to get the opportunity to build this out. And we see this is a pretty common strategy. Build all this brick, knowing that there's a ton of brick around to replace it. It doesn't look like anyone's going to contest this. This could be free for Dry Cereal, and that would be a huge swing of points. Pretty much tripling his points from early on.
Yeah, I'm talking about that mental toughness to realize one game doesn't define you. About the core. Ooh, a giant cone. I like this. I might have to do this. Allows him to quickly edit out. Player lands nearby, and you see it just trying to go ahead, land a couple cheeky shots. Nothing really executing just yet. He surprise attacks one, gets into the box, takes about 75 damage, but not really wanted to give up just yet. Has to be careful when he's shooting these shots, trying to break through the builds, because a lot of his guns are already low on ammo.
And it does look like, as well as that player may have been able to start this fight, Dry Cereal is going to be the one that takes it. And it does look like he's going to be able to capture this in a second. Just needs, like, literally 2 more seconds for these players to hop out of the circle. Should be able to get this here any moment, as soon as he could push the player out of this area.
You see Glow Season on your left side. He was the one who captured Rift Island in game 1. This time around, not really wanting to go for it very, very early on. Switch over to Dry Cereal. He's still not giving up. You said it yourself, just a few seconds is all it takes to go ahead and finish capturing Rift Island, get your 15 points. And for Dry Cereal, I think just as important is the resources that's going to come out. Possible medkits, because right now, that's going to be the biggest thing I look at in a lot of players is how many medkits, how much HP heals do they actually have?
Oh, he's waiting for this player to make an edit here, and I think we're jumping in with this auto shotgun as soon as that wall edit comes through. Oh, but smart from the player. Go for the right side. Dry Cereal definitely sees you, that you're not hidden. Now we do see Dry Cereal realizing that. Look to play this a little differently. Getting aggressive, but not too aggressive. All he really needs to do is push Faith off for a couple of seconds, and then it's all his. But if Faith stays long enough, he's going to be able to really disrupt this and potentially cause issues.
Yeah, 6 medkits. More than enough to kind of outlast all your opponents, but it's going to be Dry Cereal in game 2. It captures that Rift Island. Now that it's captured, you see Faith realizing, hey, I can try to bum rush in towards this now that there's really nothing to lose. Dry Cereal with a couple of moments here. He's going to get the medkits. He's going to get the loot that I was talking about just moments ago.
Yeah, that medkit's going to be nice. Probably going to take a little bit of storm damage. If I was these players, I'm waiting a little bit till Storm moves. That way you kind of have the cover of Storm to be able to make this rotation, but it does look like Dry Cereal is going to start moving on, at least out of that central area, and most players have moved out, so Dry Cereal will be the first. That was a little sketchy,
Whoa.
Not going to lie.
Whoa. The biggest blessing is his 500 gold. And that vending machine nearby. That is going to be... If we can go back right now, if Glow Season has another pop-off game, this is the moment we're going to be looking at that really turned things around. He has nothing to his name other than a couple of those berries to go ahead and get him just very, very minimal shield, not even HP. So that is very, very impactful. And then we think back to the beginning of the game when he had those EMPs and was getting the gold out of the vending machine. Glow Season from start to finish has very, very calculated gameplay, and I think he just earned himself a new fan in me.
Count me in as well. I'm a Glow Season fan, but those vending machines are huge, especially now that you know what's in them. So previously, players had to kind of guess what was going to be in the vending machines. Now, you can get bigs and med kits every single time, which is a huge value. So as long as you're able to keep some gold, and then hopefully no one else bought out the vending machine, you're able to get that little bit extra loot, just like we saw from Glow Season.
You know, as good as it's seeming like he's coming back into this, he still has one job left to do. It's not get in zone, because you can already see he's already there. It's getting his resources up, or as much of it as possible, because Paytech right now, you can see that only 276 metal, right? One fight, one build fight, those builds are gone. He still needs to be able to rotate into the next 6 zones. So an eventuality is he's going to have to figure out where I'm going to get a refresh, because those builds are not going to last you very long.
Yeah, that's a great point, but he did position himself in a basement, which is going to give you the most amount of material that you can farm down there, versus just being out in the open like we see Glow Season just kind of here chilling in a box. Doesn't necessarily have much to be able to farm from this position, versus Take going to be able to get that all from whatever. I mean, it may be 30 builds, it may be 40 builds, but anything's going to help as we tune in. Here is our game 1 winner, looking to make this rotate in and hopefully avoid getting seen.
I actually had a little scare right there when he took the medkit and just fell. Forgot about the low gravity effect for a few seconds. I thought tragedy was about to strike. Gets the medkit off, still has some more distance to cover, and at the back of his mind, Storm Surge, 63 above. He doesn't have to worry about it for now, but if the game continues in the same trajectory, it is going to be a worry in the next couple of zones.
And we'll give you a quick little idea of what Storm Surge is. So you see that on the right side, it says 75 above damage threshold. So think of it as like a meter. Every player is hitting that meter every time they deal damage. Whoever is the players with the least amount of damage in the lobby, well, it'll say X amount of damage below, and then they'll start taking damage every 5 seconds once Storm Surge is active, and we just saw on the screen it said Storm Surge active. So we may see a couple of purple lightning bolts. That means a player is being damaged, and typically that tells you I should be shooting or at least looking in that direction of the player.
Yeah, right now you saw over 50 people still left alive. Storm Surge has to bring the lobby down to 44 players in Zone 7. So there's going to be a lot of activity. You see it on the left side of the map. SMG gets taken down, sent back to the lobby. And like a bunch of vultures on that side, they're all scrounging for that loot because it's needed at this stage in the game.
We do see big elevation changes in this zone, so regardless of where we're going up and down hills, it looks like. Glow Season is in a fight here with Josh. Doesn't look to be too worried as both players kind of just putting pressure on walls. Not going to be getting too aggressive, jumping in boxes. And right now, Glow Season's set up to have a very successful game, Jacob.
Yeah, he just needs to worry about this surge. 8 players still need to go down. Does have 2 big pots, a couple of heals he can go ahead and use if he doesn't want to engage early in this fight. They go ahead and end the same box, a little bit of ring around the rosy, but he's able to at least get one. Shields get drained down. Third-party shots come in, but he's done just enough to stabilize himself with those 2 big pots. He's going to be back into this game. 200 over the Storm Surge threshold. Very little to worry about for him.
And it looks like Glow Season somehow managed to get him some damage, but it cost him all his extra heals. So now he's just down to 1 big if he's going to want to take that, as well as going to need the movement.
Wow, what a find.
Yeah, that's big.
Went and traded it out for it. You can see him trying to scavenge back to it, using all the builds. But you can see him slow down. Doesn't want to get too greedy. But you see he's listening to see where that player's at. He wants to go back and try to get it. That low gravity effect, the grappler rotating in this next zone. That is what he's looking for. But you can see he has to go on without it. It's not a risk he's willing to take. But with those 3 med kits, it could be an opportunity. But an opportunity gone. Glow goes down. And the chance for first place to change hands here in game 2 is real.
Quixley's taking down our current leader, so now that spot's wide open. We already saw a new player take the Rift Island. Now it's Reset, who is our game 1 winner. Looking quite healthy as far as materials go, but was attempting to jump in a box in the middle of this rotate. Now we're going to go differently and just focus on the rotation. Almost in zone, it appears most players are, but Reset takes a big shot, and that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's a definite problem. He doesn't have any shield to regain. Luckily for him, he's pretty well off when it comes to those materials, those resources, but that's only half the battle. You can see him looking around, trying to see through, figure out where these players are positioned at, where threats are hiding, spots somebody below, shooting some shots. He's taking note of that one for this next rotation. About 10 players need to go down. Zones 9 through 12, due to Storm Surge, can only house 30 players left alive. So if you're one of those that are down on Storm Surge, you have to start acting quick, because everybody's going to get to rotate from point A to point B rather quickly.
Yeah, 10 players is a lot to go down too, so don't expect that to happen right away. Some zones, when it's only like 1 or 2 players, you can count on it not being that big of a deal. But now some players will go down on the rotate, but you're still taking a ton of damage as Storm Surge is being warned and will be active here in a second. You see some players, such as Sai, needing to deal that damage and just desperate, trying to find whatever he can.
Yeah, you can see when it comes to the materials, well off, but that's only one part of this game. Reset, eyeing that perfect rotation. Doesn't want to go for the ultimate high ground, but he wants to use it to try to go ahead and stay away from that low ground. Sets himself up nice, trying to go ahead and break through a lot of those covers. Perfect moves have to be made because he has no heals of any kind to try to send himself back into this game.
Yeah, now looking on the backside, trying to get some damage here. There's nobody really that's showing up. Couple of players zooming on past, but not really an opportunity for damage or an elimination there for Reset. We see he's running into issues. Yasir decides, this is my high ground, at least for the moment. I'm going to take it. I'm beaming kids from up on high, and those are the big shots coming through. Yasir, I'm lucky that none of those players are weak. Typically, you start to see them getting really weak towards this end game, but not just yet. You see her putting in that work early and then looks to play high ground once again.
Yeah, perfect grapple to the front side of the zone, saving a lot of those resources, and immediately looking back. That's one thing in solos, is you don't have your duo to try to protect that high ground, so you have to do everything yourself. Only thing that worries me is he's down to wood, the weakest of all the builds, so anything can come chop him down at a moment's notice, but his aggression from this high ground is holding true and holding tough. Once again, the zip line to the front side of the zone. Seer, I feel like, is playing this endgame perfect.
He is, but he does need a refresh here. That's what's going to allow him to extend this. He's one chop away from going down, and then everyone looking up for height. So here comes the chop. You see her desperately trying to stay above. This is smart to stay on the backside of this zone here. Less players will be able to see him on that angle. He is going to have to play a little bit lower. Now looking to jump in, get in a box. There's a player right in front of him. He decides that's not what he wants to go for. And you see her going to look to play medkits instead.
Yeah, this is what we saw Reset do to take game number 1. He staggered himself back, bought himself some time, and a sneak attack just like that. 2 more points for Yasir, and a free rotation to the front side of the zone. Trying to gatekeep as many players out. Medkit's coming out as well. High ground is on to somebody else. You see Noisy on the right side of your screen doing the same thing, but for him, he's down to his last medkit.
Oh, players face to face, box to box there in this low ground. It's getting chaotic. We do see one player able to separate themselves from the rest all the way up there on high ground. Reset can't take a tick. He's trying to find a position of get through this area. He does for the moment. No builds, no health. What can he do? There's a player popping a medkit in front of him, and he needs to hit this last shotgun shot. How is he surviving this? How has no one shot him?
I can't. He's living in slow motion right now. That's all I gotta say. Somebody on the other side trying to break through. The elimination goes over. Unable to really gather the loot on the tail end of the zone. He goes down, but the point gain was massive from Reset.
Another solid game there by Reset, but it's Tofu looking to hit the medkits. Someone else is looking in his direction, trying to get that elimination. You got no builds left. Tofu goes down. That's Noisy picking up the elimination. He's building up the backside of zone. What can Noisy do? And it looks like it's actually Yasir's old duo. Dorito up on the high ground. He takes it from his teammate. He goes down. It's a 1v1. Only one shot needs to be hit. Not even though. Dorito takes the win.
That is a huge victory for Dorito. After game number 1, some of these players may have been a little shaky, but Dorito, confidence at an all-time high, taking the high ground at the perfect moment and taking the game. That's a huge boost of confidence if I've ever seen one myself.
Yeah, we talked about his fighting prowess earlier on, but it's that knowledge of when to make the play, when to sacrifice all of those materials and put yourself in a position to play for high ground. Perfectly executed, and he's rewarded by not even really having to take a final 1v1. That last player just goes down.
Yeah, I like that clip by Noisy there for a moment, because the game started with Noisy getting into a box and taking down a player. And Noisy's game ended with him getting into a box and trying to take somebody out to try to get as much loot as possible. I saw the chat asking for Sid. Well, guess what? We saw Sid in the replays as well, and you're seeing just how action-packed from start to finish this game actually is.
It is. Here's the final moments, though. The desperation medkit in the box, and here is our standings from game number 2. We know Dorito won that. And actually, there's a name right there in third place, Cam Slam, one of the top players, top controller players, definitely in North America, putting on a solid performance there, able to get in third place.
Yeah, I think he just came off of a third-party solo victory win, so already getting those flow of the game going. Dorito, 38 points. But you see Glow Season, first place after game 1, 52 points, 17 points here in 11th place in game 2. But it's all about consistency. It's all about consistency. I think Glow Season and a lot of these players realize after 2 games, there's still more than half of the tournament left.
Plenty of space to be able to put yourself up or down the leaderboard. Obviously, you only want to go in one direction, but if you're going up, that means somebody else is going down. So you have to be able to stay consistent and put yourself in a position in order to be able to make the end games. Because most of these players, if they're able to make it towards end game with about 100 mats and some heals, they're all good enough in order to be able to play the game out. It's just a matter of who gets those last few refreshes and puts themselves in that position to win the match.
Yeah, it's very huge, and 2 games done, I feel like that VOD review between game 2 and game 3, whether it's the beginning, middle, or end portion of the game, is pivotal. A lot of these players are making adjustments on the fly, and if you're not doing that same thing, you're going to be left behind.
Well, we'll give you guys some time to go VOD review some games. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with game number 3.
Gaming is defined by moments.
It is intense.
The joy of victory and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Welcome to our home of competitive gaming, where we can all experience exciting esports moments.
The final 1v1 of the game here.
And celebrate the pros and the rising stars.
I do want to see a female in the NCS.
Bringing you guides and deep dives.
Horizon can go up, but she can't go up fast.
And tournaments where the community competes.
Wait! Did he go? No way!
Whether you're in a heated match,
Bag, let's go!
or watching along at the edge of your seat.
A duo taking down a trio!
Let's create moments from the games you love.
I'll take it!
Join us and subscribe to our channel to follow everything esports on PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for game number 3. Everyone's already jumping in the battle bus. We've seen 2 awesome games of Fortnite so far. The PlayStation Cup featuring Fortnite has delivered through 2 games. And, I mean, I gotta ask, Jacob, who's your favorite after the first couple of matches?
I mean, he had a new fan in me. I said those words exactly. It's got to be Glow season. He's been playing phenomenal from start to finish. He's going ahead and realizing every single situation that he's in for the most part, and not just bum rushing. He doesn't have just one playstyle. He's changing things up. Guess what? We're going to see a change up yet again. He's had enough of the lavish layer. He didn't like how he played in that game too. The loot he had off spawn. Probably even VOD reviewed, because I don't even see anybody really landing at this spot along with him.
Yeah, he probably realized that he could just get a little bit more loot and then just walk over to Lavish Lair anyway after he's able to get some metal and all this loot. So respect the decision. It's a solid move. Not always going to be the best move to repeatedly do the same thing over and over and over again. So shout out to Glow Season. And also, you guys may be confused just like I was. There's 2 Glow Seasons. One, the L is an I, and it just makes it nice and confusing for us. So if you see one Glow Season with different points than the other, that is why.
Shout out SBG, because I would have been tricked. I'm very, very gullible. And with this switch up of the drop, though, you can tell 54 points already. He's having a little bit more of a slower drop, playing his game out. And the beauty about this drop that differs from the Lavish Layer and where he was landing on the reboot side is there is a possible workbench over on this side. So if he gets the right weapons, he gets enough gold, he's going to be able to go ahead and get a decent loadout from the start of the game. And I think that's the difference between the Lavish Layer spawn, is that he is just getting whatever loot is on the ground. So it's a big switch up. Who do you think, which is your favorite Glow Shiesty? Left or right?
I don't even know, right? Like, how do I pick one? They're basically the same, and it is... Oh, thank you guys for doing this. Appreciate you for making this very complicated for Jacob and I.
This is one of those spot the difference type things. There's 6 differences in this photo. Can you spot all 6? Anybody in chat? Let me know.
Have to make sure we're on our toes, Jacob. So when we have to come down to these final 2 in a 1v1 to see who wins the tournament and who wins the game, it's going to be Glow Season versus Glow... All right, hold on. How are we differing the 2?
One's Glow Seasons, one's Geo Season. Geo Season.
Geo Season. Okay. So Geo, Glow.
But
nice.
Which one's Geo and which one's Glow?
Yes. I don't know.
I hope you guys at home are enjoying this just as much as we are, because I'm having the time of my life. And it wouldn't be possible without you guys all at home, PlayStation, Fortnite, and obviously my best buddy SBG here giving me all the laughs in the world.
Hey, you know that's what I'm here for. Some laughs as well as a couple of breakdowns of what exactly is going on with the games. We see Dorito able to win that last game. Did not have the best first game, so only at 40 points, but that's in a solid position on our leaderboard already.
No, it definitely is a solid position after 2 games. You got to think first place is about 54 points, and that 40-point mark is about 6th place. So, not bad.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say it's not bad. Now we're tuning in with Ken. I don't know that Ken's my bro. Not yet.
Not yet?
You gotta earn that. You can't just be calling people bro.
That is a pretty big statement. That is a pretty... See, you're my bro. I can say that.
Yeah, we are bros.
Yeah.
Right?
But Ken, you gotta earn it. And this game right here, yeah, I'll give you 1 game, Ken. You don't even need to do good in all 6. This game right here, you'll be our bro. Top 5. That's all you need.
I mean, Ken does have 40 points already, so that is pretty bro.
Like it. I like it. You're just making me confident now. Let's go, Ken. Doritos here, fencing fields. Decent loot to really start it off. And you know, we talked about this a little bit to really start the show, but the Frenzy Auto Shotgun, I feel like, is the premier shotgun with the way people are playing, getting into the box, being able to start and end a fight rather quickly. But if things do slow down, I think that's when you can kind of prefer the other shotgun. But right now, Frenzy has to be the go-to.
Yeah,
Not the hammer pump.
I'm seeing a lot of that auto, and I think also we got to remember everyone's playing on console, so most players are playing with a controller, so you have to think it's much easier to like get face to face as a fellow controller player. It's so much easier to barrel stuff than it is to properly make edits, peaks, and like fire, reset, bait shot, fire. Like that's the gameplay that you see with the pump shotgun versus the auto shotgun. You can just get in. Like we see what Dorito's doing right now. Like that is a perfect example of why everyone is holding that auto shotgun.
I like the idea. Dorito heard the fight going down, rotated in that direction, but he saw the players kind of disengage from the fight. So instead of him being the only one fighting and then getting third party right after, he's like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to make a different decision. I'm going to try to get out and save my fighting prowess for another day.
Doesn't necessarily need any of it. 2 points ain't worth the risk. Plasma 5 feels a little bit differently though. Trying to get involved in this fight. Already putting some pressure on this player and looking for an opportunity. Does get the double piece up above. A little slow there on the wall, and Sin now just looking for an opportunity to slow down. Sometimes you think a little too much in these situations, and now we're starting to see that creative build fight coming through.
Ooh.
Need to be careful how many builds you spend, though.
Ooh, back-to-back fadeaway shot attempts coming out from Plasmafy. I like it. Goes once again, tries to bulldoze into the box, hot on the heels, gets the piece control to go over, even tries to pre-piece him towards the bottom, predicting his movements. Plasmafy just quick as can be, and another shot, massive, almost gets the box in. Plasmafy taking a little bit too much damage for his liking, especially with the amount he was able to dish out. Sin, on the other hand, 56 HP in a dream, trying to stay alive.
No mats, though, from Sin. Only going to be able to move within the builds that he has. And Plasmafy looking to close this. Does take a second, though. Realizes, I'm pretty weak. Let me slow this down. Now needs to refine the player. Sin moving through. Sin needs to be careful, though. He's eventually going to walk into the builds of Plasmafy. That's exactly what happens, but walking into this fight is another third party, and Plasmafy quickly gets put on his back foot. Sin's trying to use this opportunity to get out of here while Plasmafy is distracted.
Perfect execution coming out from Sin to just disengage. This is very, very pivotal moment for him and his game. He finds the static launch pad, and he's going to get out while Plasmafy, the original aggressor in that fight, is going to be taken down. And you can see Plasmafy got third party. He got sniped at the tail end. And just those sneaky third parties really make all the difference.
When you're aggressive, you leave yourself open to opportunities. Yes, you're going to be in an advantageous position against the one player you're fighting, but you got to remember, there's going to be 99 others that are looking to fight you at times too. You just need to be aware of that, cover yourself, and sometimes you get a little lost and forget that. That's what happened to Plasmafy. Now Shadow deciding, probably not the best idea. Learned from Plasmafy, who he didn't even see actually get eliminated, but you know, somehow in the back of his mind learned that.
I think it's like, depending on where you're at in the leaderboard, this is game 3. This is, you know, the last game before that halfway point. I think the players are realizing, I don't like my position on the leaderboard. I have to figure out a way to step it up just a little bit. So they're getting more and more daring, make a little bit more of a risky play to try to third party, get a couple of those points, and start to build that confidence in their game plan going into game number 4, which is going to be next. But until that point, some of those other players are on the other side of that coin, you know, doing very, very well, and they have to pick and choose which battles they actually want to fight.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you're choosing. Looks like Abe is going to choose this fight, though. Getting aggressive. Trying to find the angle. It's so hard, though. When the players are this good, all these players are in finals. They're just playing the right angles. They're able to back up. When you're in open space, there ain't much room to move. Or there's actually plenty of room to move, excuse me. And we see Abe trying to take that shot. Let him out. Ladies mock, slowing this fight down. Neither player really in a position, though, to jump in and close this fight out. I don't even think we've seen much damage come through.
Yeah, I feel like it's not necessarily for the overall elimination. backing players down, getting some surge. But you can see at the edge of Ruined Reels, which means the zone is moving towards the west yet again. Very, very similar to Game 1. So a lot of these players that are on the edge need to have that thought process in the back of the mind. I feel like, until Rift Island actually appears, I would take my rotation still very, very lightly. But you have to be ready to rotate literally max distance if it doesn't pull your way.
Luckily, they are in the middle of the map. So they'll at least pull this next zone and then have to force the rotate on afterwards. We're seeing another west zone.
Yep. 2 of 3 so far.
Do you think all the west players paid off PlayStation?
I want to say maybe. Yeah. They rolled the dice. They said, yo, bring us the zone. But then again, Game 2, we had a little bit of a north zone. I think maybe PlayStation is just trying to give us some good games.
Yeah, we don't have 11 2K here to set up the zones for us, so unfortunately we don't even know where they're going. We'll have to wait and see. Ladies Mock gonna go ahead, play for that combat cash. Always a nice play when you're able to get one of those, especially with the materials, but this is a poor position. A lot of players start to move through. This is a dangerous area to sit in.
And you can kind of see where Rift Island is, once again, at the edge of zone. And you know as well as I do, Rift Island usually in the next couple zones doesn't actually make it in. It could rotate back towards it. The players, once again, are going to start to think about where they want to position themselves as Kareem gets another elimination. You can see all the falling loot. Now it's his choice. Do I want to keep med kits? Do I want to keep the shields? Do I want to keep the grapple? And right now, he's actually choosing grapple over HP and keeping the double shields. Do you agree with that, with the way the games have been going so far?
I'm not sure. I'll tell you in a little bit. Let me let me wait a little bit longer and I'll let you know.
Rift Island's up, and just like every game so far, we got a couple quick early players trying to go ahead and capture and claim it towards themselves. 2 initially there, a 3rd one on the way, and a 4th wants to join the party. And well, now we have a big battle already. And this, I want to say, is Glow season, not Geo.
This is the higher Glow season on the leaderboard versus Geo season. We'll go Glow season as the one higher on the leaderboard, so we can change them at times if they switch positions. But
okay.
Dorito also looking to make this play. Feeling confident after that win, and now looking to play for the flag. There's a lot of players. It seems like even more are coming up here, and this could just turn to absolute chaos.
It's Geo, Dorito, Yasir. And I just hear more gliders opening up, more players dropping down, and that just goes to show, man, the game goes on, it gets riskier and riskier. The position on the leaderboard is kind of forcing these people to interact on this Rift Island. 15 points. That's 8 eliminations almost, SPG. 8 eliminations aren't easy, so you want to go for 8 eliminations or 1 Rift Island? Choice is yours.
Yeah, I would probably go for Rift Island. And especially the way players are playing for this, it's not necessarily, like, really dangerous, I guess. Because most of these players are kind of just boxing up and hoping that no one else is going to be able to stay here long enough. But at this point, it doesn't look like anyone's getting this for free. You're going to have to fight 3, 4, 5 players in order to get this island.
You almost want to see when somebody's getting targeted, maybe just shoot some shots in that direction. Push one player off all the time. You see Pollo. A little bit of a cheeky edit, trying to hide his position. Sobsy ready to go up and in somebody else's box, but quickly returns towards his own. Didn't like the look that he saw. That just goes, so was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people directly there, possibly more. So many players on towards the outskirts. Sobsy just trying to hold on to his cover, playing defensive here. That's going to be the key for a lot of these players in the position, especially when they're getting aggressed on by more than one player.
And you can see already trying to build out some space as he's starting to get some pressure on. Dorito is looking to put that pressure, just trying to push players off of this position. You don't want everyone sitting here, and if somehow you can claim this with half the lobby sitting on your head, sure. But otherwise, this is going to be a long, long time before someone's able to get zone.
Yeah, either medkits are going to come into play, and just judging off of Doritos' builds, you know, lack of builds could be a prominent scenario here in this fight, especially since they keep going ahead and trading over that piece control with one another. Player on the other side, Doritos here still. Nobody really wanted to give it up easy, and this is where everyone is going to be tested with zone coming in. It looks like Dorito might actually be the last one standing.
Yeah, it looks like everyone decided, all right, let's get on out of here. It ain't worth it. Dorito has those 3 med kits, so he's willing to risk it. Has to be careful. He doesn't know that everyone's gone. We do. But this is a good spot to be in for him. Able to claim these points. Now it's just a matter of if the rotation's going to come through clean and not have to worry about what's going on.
Yeah, Dorito capturing this is going to put him in first place. Obviously, with 57 people still left alive, that can shift in the blink of an eye, especially if Dorito does get taken down. But it goes to show, with Glow Season in Game 1, even... I think it was Dirty Cereal in Game 2. Dorito here now in Game 3. The impact of these Rift Islands are going to be pivotal, and I think it's going to be the deciding factor in thousands and thousands of dollars at this stage.
It could be. I mean, I think it is definitely worth it to try and make those plays for the Rift Island, and we'll see exactly who's capable of doing it every single game. Someone that's not capable of making any plays and needs to make something happen is CRFR Mattel. How do you think this name is pronounced? This is one of the enigmas of Fortnite that we always have to deal with, is like, how do you pronounce this name?
Okay, I'm thinking outside of the box here, right? When I say this.
Okay.
And I'm thinking so far outside of the box, like I'm in creative while they're playing Battle Royale. That's how outside of the box I'm thinking, right?
Okay.
Surfer? CRFR? Surfer? Can we be Surfer Mattel?
Surfer Mattel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm outside of the box here. I'm outside of the box thinking, and right now he's going to have to serve over these waves, over these tsunamis, because he has 8 builds left. 8 builds left. He's going to farm a little bit of that rock, but that's really not going to give him too much to work with considering the next couple of rotations.
It's going to be a tough one regardless of how this goes. He's going to have to worry about every single build that he places. And not only that, but like, you get caught out for 1 second, you get caught slacking, you're going down. You have little to no HP in order to be able to take a couple of shots. Now we start to see what zone is shaping up like. Got a massive mountain chilling in the middle. We're about to go through a POI, as well as a lot of space just in the open. So this is a fairly favorable zone for any of those players that have the grapple blade. For anyone that doesn't, you're going to be caught in the open pretty easily with all this space.
Yeah, and the way the zone pull around is it was pulling west, right? So in theory, the dead side of the zone would have been on the western side. But after that west pull, it actually pulled back towards the east side, which congested the western side of the zone. So even though you can kind of see a couple of empty spots here on a couple of those edges, majority of the outskirts of the zone is congested at this stage in the game.
And we see Sin having some problems here. Needs to get one of these med kits off, but it's not even the player that's fighting him. It's the third party that comes through and finishes that. Razor, that's about as free of an elimination as you're going to get. And now we do see Zone is going to pull up that hill. All these players going to have to make their way over there. Most players already on that west side.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get tough. And for the players that are in the zone, I go ahead and pick your brain here for a second. Are you traveling more west to where there's nobody at because of the zone opening up? Or are you just hunkering down, saving your resources, and letting everybody around you make their own decisions?
So you're saying for players already in the zone?
Yeah.
I think you just have to chill. I think, in theory, it makes sense to put yourself deeper into zone, but you've already invested the mats. There's a chance you get beamed, then you have to spend more heals, more mats, and the risk isn't worth the reward. Just wait a second, see where next zone pulls, and then you can rotate from there.
I do like that, especially in the solo competition. To me, I feel like I would be an in-the-moment type of guy. My first initial reaction is move towards the west. You can see how free, how empty it is at this stage in the game, but I also got to keep in mind, it depends. Am I down surge? Am I up surge? So I feel like I would do the rotate. That would be my final answer after thinking about all the scenarios. Deshaun trying to rotate upward. Gets blocked off by Yasir, but he finds himself a good crevice to where in theory, even though it's getting tagged up by Yasir, the backside is covered by that mountain to where you can't really break in, but now you got maybe our bro Ken, depending on if he gets top 5 this game. Sneak it up on a Deshaun. Doritos there as well. Yasir has the option, now the elevation to kind of spot around, see everybody around him. Doritos said, I want a piece of that pie.
This is an interesting zone as nobody is in it. We see Amp is the only one nearby, but Yasir putting himself right on the front side of zone, trying to claim this low ground. Pollo's right there as well, so a couple of top aggressive players eye to eye here. We'll see if either one decides to make a play. Everyone has to make this rotate, so I expect a lot of mats, a lot of heals to be used on this rotation as Dorito gets beamed big. This could be problematic.
Yeah, this is big because we talked about him getting first place at one point during this game. No builds. Dorito out of nowhere, able to take down Sobzy, but still only 2 HP. He gets shut down in 43rd place SBG. That opens up the world of the leaderboard for somebody to take over.
A lot of the top players falling earlier on, giving them some position. Noisy gets knocked back from the backside. Doesn't realize the player's up behind him, and down he goes. Yasir now looking to make a play. At least just to stay alive. I apologize. He's not really making any plays. He's just chilling in a box, hoping to stay here for the moment. And it looks like your bro Ken.
Your bro.
He's become our bro. He is
so?
now.
You think he's earned it now? He's made it far enough?
Yeah, he's got 40 points. He's in another end game. Looks like he's trying to play height. He's a bro.
Yeah. But with 37 people left alive, Storm Surge is off for now. In the next couple of zones, it has to get down to 30 players, so we're going to see it activate here momentarily. And you can see the overhead view of how scattered everybody is around the map. And they have to not only make a far rotation, but look at where they actually have to rotate to. What are we going to witness here in a few short moments?
Hope everyone brought your goggles because we're going swimming. Yasir looks to make a play for height, quickly changes his mind, decides we're going to play for ultimate low, and then also gets super aggressive right away on the player next to his box. That player dips on out. Now Yasir's in a position just to hang out. Can potentially catch someone slacking on one of these rotates with that shotgun, but not many players walking through this area as it became very congested very quickly.
And just trying to stay alive. Elevation, keeping him away from everybody else. Yasir can't say the same thing, but he found himself a little bit of a nook and a cranny. Some safety here. You can see he's just getting ready for this next rotation, doing the bare minimum turns, staggering himself back with the med kit. We've seen this play be successful in the past 2 games so far. Let's see if it can be 3 for 3.
And I think a lot of players, because of what happened last year, have lost sight of just extending your game with like the mid-end game medkit play just to get a little more placement, potentially just get that refresh from the backside of zone. And now we're seeing a lot more of it as players have begun to play a little bit differently. Your bro Ken, running out of mats though up on height, is able to deter that high ground play for a moment, but gets turned aside. That player has more mats, is more confident than he is. Ken's going to hit the big pot, look for a rotate here as the mats have run low.
Oh, and you see he chops down high ground as well. He knows he can't hold on to it due to the lack of resources, but he at least tries to cause some chaos and commotion for somebody else. You see the cheap builds coming out. Only a cone, wall on the other side. He knows the player's there, and this is where he's going to try to think of something. Is it worth it to try to go in or try to catch somebody on the next rotation?
All you can do here is sit in a cone. That's what he's going to try and do. He actually walks in his old builds. There's a player right on the other side of the wall. He can't hold anything, so he needs to make the right play with what he has. Luckily, he's smart enough to be able to find what he needs. It's Pollo up top, though, putting pressure down. Does he have the materials to continue to hold this? We've seen a lot of players make that high ground play way too early and not be able to sustain.
Yep, see if he can do it. See if Yasir can do it as well. No builds, very, very different situation than Pollo, but everything comes crumbling down. The grapple at the nick of time, but he gets tagged up on his way down, dropped to just 12 HP. But you see the medallion going ahead and taking off, trying to get his shields back up. That allows him the seconds to pop the med kit. He's going to get him back to 150 effective shield and HP, ready for this next rotation.
Yeah, that passive healing is huge. So as he's able to pop that med kit, he's also getting shield back. Missed the shot. Gonna stay on the backside. He's doing one of those plays. He only has one build, so trying to get the most placement that he can out of this game. We see Ken still alive somehow with nothing left to his name. He knocks on one wall, gets turned aside, finds another player. That's not the wall he wants to go to. Gonna start panicking with a little bit of grapple blade, but this is going to extend the game just as long as he can. There's a player under his cone. He's going to take the shot. He's able to get the refresh and the elimination, but down he goes right after.
At least he got himself into the top 10 as Paddock is able to get that elimination, but all he has is a double frenzy auto shotgun with Esmo over at the top. He has the high ground now, stolen away from Pollo, who's getting shoved down low to the low ground. A sliver of both HP and shield off the back of Pollo, but he's doing more than enough to stay alive with another elimination secured.
And Ladies Mac now up on the high ground, has a couple of builds. As long as no one looks up, he's going to be in a good position. Dad's still alive, looking to make some plays late game. He's able to get a moment just to heal. Doesn't want to risk all of that health, but does wind up spending a bunch. He's jumping around, actually gets caught in a couple different directions, getting in the face of Dolazur there. That's not what he wants, but Dash is running out of the mats, running out of the health, and down he goes. Now we have 3 players remaining. It's Ladies Mac, Dolazur, and Paddock trying to find the play.
Yeah, but Paddock takes the huge shot to start off this triple battle between 3 different solo players. 4 eliminations, trying to follow the zone. Dolazur's in the zone, taking so much damage. Paddock, the heel stop. He goes in. He takes him out. No HP left. So Ledesma, the sneaky plays with 6 eliminations, is going to steal that game away.
What a play and what a game. You know, we see these players, it's almost whoever is taking zone and like end of 11th, beginning of 12th zone, that's who's gonna win. And there hasn't really been, I've seen a lot of players carrying medkits into the late game, but no one's able to get them all the way to the end. They're having to spend them earlier, and we've seen so many medkit plays throughout the tournament already.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because Paddock had more than enough medkits to survive, even possibly win the game with those medkits. But his opponent just spotted him trying to heal off, used that first SMG that you were talking about, and quickly eliminated him.
Tons of elims coming through throughout the game. We saw some special ones here. Lots of special plays, and somehow a lot of the players we tuned in with throughout the tournament and throughout this game specifically had nothing left, made something happen, and extended their game well longer than they should have.
Yeah, he caught those there right there. This is what kept him alive. He took down Dash, but he's so far in the zone. Pate, medkit. You see, he had no more left. Even though Dozer was able to get the elimination, he had already started it at that point. And that would have been huge because Ledesma used his last medkit. So in theory, that would have been a possible opportunity to win the game overall. But hey, second place, not bad.
Yeah, and as we take a look at our overall standings, we see Yasir and Dorito are up there on the leaderboard, the only 2 players to break 60 points. And then we got a lot of players, Ledesma, Glow, our bro now, Ken, Reset, all up there with 50 points. Dash, Noisy, Dolazur, Sai coming out in that top 10.
Yeah, but you look at Glow's season, though, with 55 points. Majority of those points came in game number 1. So he has to figure out a way to recollect himself and re-get himself on the road. You see his twin brother, the other Geo season, 32 points. So honestly, I think the winner of this is the official Glow season. Whoever places higher.
Yeah, the other person has to change their name afterwards. And now taking a look at the middle of our leaderboard, a lot of these players, it may seem like, I'm so far behind, we're halfway through the tournament, I'm only in 20th or something place. Well, actually, we could see easy 45 plus point games. If you win the match, get that island, there's a lot of points to be had in this tournament, so definitely don't give up yet.
Yeah, it really does. Just take one pop-off game. First place, we saw it, Dorito, 62 points. So I ask you, when are you going to cut off and say, in the next half of games, I'm a little worried for players placed X and below? Where is SBG worried about?
I would say anyone that has less than, let's call it 10 points.
Okay.
Just because it shows me you haven't really figured anything out thus far, and it's not going to be easy to change and make it work without putting in significant effort. But, you know, you get that time in between games, you could hit the VODs. a lot of these players likely are struggling off spawn, not able to make the proper rotation. So I think right there, that's where I'm going to not really see the ability to make a successful change.
Okay, I like that. That's something I'm going to be looking at throughout the course of the game to see who's really able to adapt. You got to think, we've seen, like you said, 40-point games. We've seen 50-point games. Obviously, the Rift Island plays a big role along with those forecast towers. So going into Game 4, are you switching up your drop to maybe make those one a primary focus, or are you just trying to play the game out as usual and trying to see what changes you can make on the fly?
I think anyone that hasn't really done well, you have nothing to lose by switching up your drop, right? Like, go into replay mode, see where some open space is, and find yourself where you should be dropping. If you've had some success, I'm not changing it just yet. That's where I'm a little worried if you do. But what I'm not worried about is the new Western Digital officially licensed PlayStation 5 SSD. It keeps your PS5 cool, allows you up to 4 terabytes of storage. So if you guys are trying to upgrade your game, maybe you're playing on an old generation, make sure to upgrade to that PS5 with the new Western Digital SSD.
Yeah, 4 terabytes is a lot of space. You don't have to delete a single thing anytime you have that. So I might have to actually pick me one up. I need some more space for my PlayStation downstairs.
Yeah, if you're making content, you need all of those terabytes. I think I got a 2 terabyte drive, and it might be time to upgrade.
Not enough space. You need 4.
No. Yeah, I need to save all of Fortnite history forever, so that's at least 10 terabytes. The amount of random clips that are hidden somewhere on my computer that I've never named are endless.
I know. If I would have had this in 2019, I would still have my clip of winning Tfue scrims back then. I won 1 Tfue scrim, and that was when my life was made.
Okay. I see.
It's been downhill ever since.
All right. Hey, we're halfway through. What do you expect to see a major change in the leaderboard? I feel like I've asked a lot of what do you expect? But do you expect to see any major changes, or is our top 10 going to finish somewhere around the top 10?
In terms of the top 10, I think we are going to see some changes, major changes. I'll probably make that decision as we start, or maybe in the middle of Game 5, if you'll allow me. But in terms of the middle of the leaderboard, maybe between 11th and 30th place, we're going to see some major shifts. We're going to see who really wants that money. Because I said, even if you're in 20th place to start Game 6, there's still thousands of dollars up for grabs, even if you're out of reach of first place.
All right. I'll let you make changes and make your predictions whenever you want. I have no rules here. You can just literally do whatever you want.
I'll just wait till after Game 6 then.
Yeah, just tell me who you think's going to win after Game 6, and you're probably going to be right. I would hope you get that right.
I would hope as well. Aiden, triple play. AZ Hillside. Little bit early skirmish, but it's the distance that doesn't really make it that impactful between the two. Just a couple shots traded off. Continues to try to disengage, and a lot of these split drop, a lot of these non-POI houses, it does carry a ton of good loot, as you see there. A lot of slurp barrels around, so that way you can save your heals for later on in the game, and you can see multiple grappler options for Aiden, and definitely this is the start of a game that I would like if I was Aiden.
100%. That loadout puts you in a good position. Now it's a matter of what he can do with that. Tuning in with our leader, Yasir. How's he going to decide to play this game? Now that everyone knows you're the leader, there's some, I guess, a little bit of pressure.
3 points. And the interesting thing about Yasir is, his placings. He's so consistent. And that's what I think separates him from second place Dorito, who got Rift Island. You look at Yasir, a 3rd, a 14th, and a 9th. Second place, you had 38th, 43rd, and 1st place. So if Yasir can keep up his consistency, even if he doesn't necessarily win a game overall, he could see himself in 1st place, $2,500 richer, and the most important thing, the bragging rights to call yourself the best.
Yeah, I think we'll see pretty much anyone that hits 70, 75 points. That is what looks like top 10 positioning based on what happened in EU earlier today. So If you guys are trying to wonder, oh, how many points do I need to get top 10? Everyone always wonders, how many points do I need, right? That's always the question. About 75 is where you want to be. Obviously, if you want to win, you're looking at 100, 150 plus, but getting to 75 is just the start.
I like that, though, because it's not an exact goal, but it's a threshold. It's something that you can strive for. So, you know, throughout the next 3 games, games 4, 5, and 6, you can kind of figure out where you're at. You know, maybe game 4 doesn't go your way, and you realize, hey, I got to pick up 10 extra points that I didn't get in this last game. As actually, chat, once again, shout out chat, teaching me his name, CR from Atlanta, picking up an elimination in the feed. He's getting 2 more points richer. Now the question is, what does CR stand for?
Christopher Rogers.
I like it. Because it's his neighborhood at this point. He got that elimination. He cleared it out. It's the neighborhood watch.
We do see a lot of watching going on. This one specifically by Deshawn, watching this fight happen. Trying to see if any of these players get caught slacking, put the pressure on. Deshawn not even going to wait. He wants to put the pressure on himself. Looks like these players are looking to disengage, and Deshawn decides that's probably the right play, but I'm going to cut you off. You're not getting out for free here.
And he has that mentality you were talking about. I realistically have nothing to lose with my position here on the leaderboard. So he's going to get a little bit aggressive in this early game, depending on where he's at. Once we go towards the mid game, he can continue to try to keep his aggression up because it's working, or he might try and slow it down, finish the game off with a strong placement, and then play these next 2 games out to try to catch up and gather those points that we were talking about. But man, the EMP grenade just draining Deshawn's shield, and that, you know, getting hit with one of those is not something I personally see every day.
No, you barely see players pick those up. For these off-spawn fights, you kind of use whatever you can, and that's a perfect example of a player having little at their disposal but making it work. That'll push Deshawn off of him, but now it's Juita trying to get the shots through. Looks like Glow's on the back foot.
Hey,
I believe this is Geo, actually.
He's still playing confident, though. Even though he's backing up little by little, he's still managing to tag some shots off, making sure that they know nothing's going to come for free. Even getting targeted by the turret along the way. Piece control going all the way over. The Cloudsy's there. And this is Lavish Lay, where a lot of players are positioned at, and somehow, some way he gets taken down. I got to imagine it was fall damage.
I think it was the turret.
Oh, that's even worse.
The turret got him. Yeah,
I think that's worse.
That's so much worse. Anyway, sorry. We won't harp on that for too long. Is Crypt Vortex able to take down Razor? Razor was one of our top performing players thus far. Taking a look at where he is on the leaderboard, I don't know.
I'm using his juice, grabbing the extra one that he has there, ready for the next rotation. Seer over towards fencing field still. And definitely has a good loadout. You got to imagine, due to the mythic in his inventory, that he has the medallion as well. So 50's shield can be regenerated if it does get wiped off. So definitely give himself a good run here in this game to try to extend his lead.
Yeah, 100%. We got a flopper, the resident flopper player. And our winner from the previous game, down in the midst of it, now trying to get out of the Reckless Railways bottom pits. Ladies Mott putting themselves on the rotate, focusing on that zone. And, you know, during these 4, 5, 6 games, it does get to players sometimes. It's not necessarily easy to play at the top of your game for 3 hours. So sometimes these players you'll see start to fade. You'll see other players start to peak because they haven't warmed up before. As David able to get an elimination himself. That's a big one for momentum, and now the player's already putting the pressure on. Oh no, you got nowhere to go. Bolt's able to clean that one up, and that's kind of the first time we've seen much from Bolts today.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see in particular coming out from Bolts in the second half is he's one that's been at the top of the game, the Global Championship, FNCS Championship. He's played against the best, he's played with the best, and I just need to see him flip that switch. play like you have nothing to lose, because realistically, the position that he's on the leaderboard is not where he wants to be. I can tell you that much. He's a very prideful gamer, and just get aggressive. Start getting those eliminations. Once you get to a position you want, a couple points off those eliminations, then you can begin to slow things down. As On1 has this player just basically trapped in the vault.
Yeah, I don't know who's trapped. Is On1 trying to trap him in the vault? Or is he trying to get the elimination and then steal all the good loot? Either way, this is not a good position, though, for either players. We're going to be spending lots of time, lots of mats, even heals just sitting here going back and forth.
Yep. I like the pre-nade coming out from Leftover Prize. Trying to predict the peak coming out from On1. You see the quick edit, reset. Both of these players just toying with each other right now. They both have medkits, though. I will say that. So this one could be probably one of the most prolonged fights that we're going to see here in this game. But as I look at the minimap, SBG, somebody's getting curious. Somebody's getting nosy, floating their way over. Possible third party coming up.
Yeah, they smelt it. Or probably just saw the visual audio. But they smelt the fight going on. Now trying to get involved here, and this is really bad news for On1 and Leftover Prize. This is not what you want to happen, because you're going to think whoever wins this engagement, oh, nice, we're chilling. I won the engagement, I get all the vault loot. Well, unfortunately, there's someone sitting on your head that's now going to prevent you from being able to walk away.
Leftover Prize, time is ticking. And you can look at his resources as well. That's something to be very cognizant of. Getting drained down. The med kit gets canceled. 36 HP. Leftover has no options. He's trying to go ahead and bulldoze his way right into On1. He does have the Mythic Frenzy auto shotgun. So a couple quick, well-placed shots could be the difference maker. But time is there. Less than about 25 seconds left.
And this is the first time we see either player get really aggressive. No wonder why Leftover Prize goes for it. He's running out of HP, and now he needs to make something desperate happen. But so does the other player, and CR is able to get that one. So, looks like On1's going to win the fight. And honestly, that third-party player, that third party we expected to happen, is coming from behind. On1 gets beamed big. Now he's going to be in trouble. He needs to find some heals and ASAP.
Yeah, literally no HP to regain. He's just bouncing and floating around thanks to that low gravity, but time is ticking, just like he put somebody else in the very, very similar position. You know, at least has 2 medkits. So at any moment, it could be a full health player versus On1, and time is there. 10 seconds left. It's all or nothing. On1 goes in. He gets the elimination. Medkit just in the nick of time to keep himself alive. SVG, these are the moments we came for when it comes to PlayStation Cup.
What a play. To have the, like, I guess you got nothing to lose at that point, right? You're either going down to zone or you're trying to get an elim before you do. Luckily for him, there's a med kit on the body of the fallen player. That will allow him to survive just that much longer, and then with a 1-ticking zone, there's not much you got to worry about. All you got to do is focus on this rotation, find yourself in a good spot.
And he hits the vending machine before he continue his journey on. Just a couple more snacks for the road. Fill up on some med kits. Fill up on the HP as long as he has the gold there to kind of support it. Definitely a huge turning point in his game. Possible tournament if he can continue up in this pace. This is Velo outside of the zone, but luckily for him, just a couple of footsteps away, a couple boxes if he wants to make his way there, especially with the grappler. Find safety inside of the zone, then blink of an eye before he goes forward. He's actually going to try to turn around. I think for him, he's just trying to scavenge together the loot, the resources, and then play the slower side of the zone.
I do like focusing on that slower side of zone. Now we're about to focus on this Rift Island. I think we've seen at most 8 players on this island at one point. We're already starting to see a couple of players position themselves that way. It is time. Dorito is one of them. Sam is another. Dorito takes a lot of damage going up here, but still looking to get aggressive. Doesn't want to give a player even a hope that he's not going to try and fight for this, and he's trying to claim every single piece as he walks through here.
Yeah, perfect plays for Dorito. He defensively set up first, gathering the piece control like you spoke about, and then he worried about healing. Gave himself some space, some comfortability and flexibility because he knows that this is a huge possibility. So many players landing on the island, trying to disrupt. And there goes Sam. He was one of the first players there. He decided to just kind of disengage, re-farm up. He knows it's still contested, so he does have time to do exactly this.
Yeah, he basically just gave us a quick, I'm good, dog. Like, you can have that. I don't need it. I already have my 40 points. I'm going to look to play for the next game. And as that happened, we've seen more players decide to fight for this position. Doritos down below. We got Yasir. We got Pollo. All these players in this area looking to play for this flag. But honestly, none of them kind of have any advantage in this fight so far.
Pickle. Anything's better than nothing. Just takes down the bush, recycles, and that's the thing about Rift Island. You know, even though the aesthetic of Rift Island changed from last season, a lot of these players still use it as a huge elevation point to not only refarm like you've seen multiple times already, but to get surge on these players that are below Rift Island, that are rotating around. So that way, come later in the game, they don't have to work as hard.
Looks like Glow wants to get involved as well. Glow's getting pressured from multiple angles. He gets pushed off this. Ooh, Dorito goes down.
That's big.
That's Notorious taking advantage of what was going on over there. Yeah, that's why you got to be careful with all these players in this little area. Can quickly lose sight of where players are, especially when you're fighting in all these builds.
Yeah, so it's good to have that space, but moving in and around, kind of lose track of sight. See another player going up and over, trying to reposition. Pollo's 10 toes down right now, holding his position. It does look like he might be the one to try to capture. No one contesting it just yet. Still firing his shots to back people down. So in game 4, it's going to be Pollo who earns those 15 points from Rift Island.
We haven't seen too much from him, so likely this is the first step to becoming more aggressive. Yasir's looking to get right in the box. Pressure coming from up above. Notorious going to go down to the Yasir, but it doesn't look like this fight's going to end just like that as Pollo starts to continue that fire through. But stops. Okay. Decides it's not worth it, and Yasir's going to get a moment to breathe and heal.
Yep. It just makes me ask a question. With second place going down in Dorito, one of the Glow seasons going down. So we have Ledesma, Glow season, Broken, and Reset. The next couple players below Yasir on that leaderboard. And it's about to start this game. 14 points. About 16 if you throw Dash into that mix as well. So even with how well Yasir is doing, picking up 2 eliminations so far, he still has more work to do if he wants to extend his lead.
And we can see Yasir trying just to stay up. Play from the island. I don't blame him. The island's a great spot to be. Just wait for this next zone to appear, and then you could pretty much rift wherever you want. Honestly, the best play is like as this next zone, as zone 5 closes, like there's 1 second left on the zone, that's when you hit the launch pad.
Yeah.
So that way everyone's looking at their map, trying to figure out how to rotate, and you're already in the air making the rotation in front of them.
Okay. Little notes from SBG. If you get stuck on Rift Island, how to rotate the most effective way possible. Minimize the amount of people looking at you as you fly through the sky. But what do your notes say if there's still like 5 people on Rift Island?
Just don't be the first one to leave.
Oh, okay. So if you guys are in the chat right now, take notes of all these moves because you see Pollo still on top. He's a huge heavy hitter in the Fortnite competitive scene. You got first place still on top, and that's probably exactly what they're waiting for. CR from Atlanta trying to show exactly what he's made from. And right now it looks like he's all aggression all the way, but the third party comes in, and that's going to slow him down just a little bit. Because as soon as he finds Ledesma yet again, you can see him set his eyes on that prize.
Yeah, backing up. Don't have much to be able to fight back with. That green auto shot, it hits, but it doesn't hit too hard. So You're either going to need to get the shots off first, and that's why he chooses the burst SMG. That thing puts out some damage, and CR from ATL going to be able to get that damage down. That's a big elimination.
Yeah.
4 elims this game. This is what I call a comeback.
Yeah, that's a big one because that's another person at the top of the leaderboard. That's a blessing and a curse for some that helped him achieve the top side of the leaderboard, but it also helps Yasir continue to open up that gap, and you can see over 580 damage above the Storm Surge threshold. I think for the next couple of zones, he literally has nothing to worry about other than making sure that he's safe inside of it.
Yeah, it's a good call. Sometimes the best thing you can do in Fortnite is do nothing. And sometimes that is actually really hard to ask of a player, is just sit there and do nothing. But at times like these, when you're already in zone, when you've already got everything you need, there is zero necessary things to do. So sit here, sit in your cone, and just watch players. That's all you got to do. As we see, the next zone does pull, so we're going up north towards where most of these players are, but they're going to have to make a little bit of a rotation.
Not too far from some, but you can already see the southern portion of said rotation is already looking a little stacked. You got one player treading the line of that zone, maybe thinking like, hey, do I go to one of these islands instead? Give myself a little bit more comfortability, room to work with. It can also be a blessing and a curse. You cross the island, zone pulls back, you're going to have more work than you set out to have.
I don't like having a lot of work. I prefer like just the amount of work to keep me busy.
I like
So otherwise, you know, I'm always like stressing about work. So you just got to make sure that you have the right amount, and then that's where you want to be. I don't know if that applies to Fortnite. Probably not. But CR from ATL getting aggressive here, looking for another elimination. Picked up one while we weren't paying a ton of attention to him. Said, hey, let's go back to me. Come on, guys. I'm putting in the work today.
Just like you see him 600 above the threshold. Ken, not so much, but being above is way more enjoyable than being below. But Cam on the other side, knocking out the doors. Trick or treat, he got all the candy he came looking for and more.
I think the trick came through. Our bro Ken having a tough one there, but nonetheless, still having a solid tournament. You're allowed to have one bad game.
Yeah.
Everyone gets one.
It's all about how you bounce back from said bad game. I think, you know, being mentally tough is just as important in Fortnite as having, you know, best mechanics, best rotations. Because, you know, with
100%.
with 100 players running around the map all at once, you can't expect your game to go perfect 6 out of 6 times.
I mean, a good tournament, I think some of the most dominant FNCS wins that we've seen, a team wins like less than 75% of the games. And that's like the best of all time. A good FNCS win is like winning 2 games out of 12. So to put that into perspective, that's saying all you really need to do is win 1 game and remain consistent. And that's a great tournament. So the bar is very high for these Fortnite players. It's a very difficult game. And one of the things that often gets overlooked is the players that finish 2nd through like 10th.
Yeah.
And while the winner gets all the glory, it is still not easy just to even get in those top 10 positions.
Yeah, it's not even easy with 25,000 people entering into the PlayStation Cup featuring Fortnite. Only 100 even get in the finals. That alone is achievement in itself, but you know, sometimes pride does funny things to your thought process. It's all or nothing. If you're not first, you're last. And Hyrax is with 7 points so far, is trying to make a comeback of the ages. If he somehow comes back and wins this PlayStation Cup, I better see a 60-minute video on the PlayStation Esports channel.
All right, the comeback of a
documentary.
lifetime featuring Hyrax, voiced by Jacob PR.
And SVG.
No, just Jacob PR.
Okay. I like Yasir's thought process here. And that's, I feel like, the way Yasir has been playing in general throughout every game so far, is he's brave and confident enough to get aggressive in the early game, even in the mid portions of the game. But once we get towards this point, zones 8 through 12, he slows things down. He plays a little bit more calculated, but still can flip that switch at a moment's notice.
Yeah, he knows when to turn it on and when it's best just to chill. Tharmic putting that pressure on, being a problem for everybody in the lobby. Now deciding we're getting in. That's a much needed refresh. That'll help extend his game. Needs a moment to reload because he's out of AR, but focus on the rotate first. Looks like nobody's even putting pressure on him. I don't think anyone wants to play for height yet, and looks like as I say that, Yasir starts to go up. That's a free high ground if he wants it, and he's going to take it at least for the moment.
Yeah, I think Yasir at this stage in the game, with 3 hard-fought battles, all of the times him coming down towards the end game, he knows that the consistency of players going for the high ground, or at least having mats to hold on to it, isn't necessarily there. So as long as he sets himself up to have resources like this, it's definitely his for the taking. It's about how can he hold on to it. Tharmic goes down. There's an extra med kit lying around if somebody able to get their hands on it.
And this is exactly what I don't want to see if I'm the rest of the lobby. You have the player in first place who has very little to lose by playing high ground here. Also has the mythic AR, so he's just going to be spraying me and absolutely demolishing builds, shredding shields, and putting players back to the lobby. So this is not what I would want to see if I'm players. Let's see if Yasir can continue to capitalize and win this game.
Yep. Once again, we see this in that last game as well. Jumping to the front side of the zone, reconnecting another players, trying to save as many of the resources as possible. Charlie's going ahead and battling through. He does have a med kit, but he doesn't have the moment to stabilize himself. 3 HP in a dream. Now he has a few seconds. Med kit's going to be popped off. But what can he do with a second chance at life?
Cam, in this end game, player that gets a lot of hype, one of the top controller players, has been hanging around about the middle of the leaderboard looking to have a big play here. We see Noisy does pop a little bit of that fizz. Yasir able to get himself another refresh, but has to spend a ton of those mats right away. The medkit play is going to be begun. And it looks like he's already looking to see who's up on his high ground, and I don't think anybody is.
Yeah, at least not anybody that's willing to challenge him convincingly. Steals that one away, but through the distance, somebody just toying with it, stays far back, tags down Yasir, who is now out of builds. Luckily for him, he has the medallion, popping a med kit, so he has a chance to try to sneak up on a couple of players and get some sort of a siphon or a refresh. Vortex seems to be the target, sees it coming though, he's ready. Yasir not wanting to bite off more than he could chew in that one moment, so he continues to move forward in the zone, but drops down into the roof where Dasharuni is waiting.
And it looks like Zeidel's up on the high ground. He's putting that pressure on. Has a great play for the moment, but then gets chopped out. He's running out of builds. This is now the time where we've seen anybody up here in this 12 zone is where you want to be. The plays come through. Now it's Pollo trying to make a play for that high ground. He gets snuck from behind, not paying attention to the right angle, but Pollo still just cranks up. Zeidel's going to try and chop. Has to go for another wall. That's going to give Pollo enough time to get a little bit of heals off, but he's going to go down. Nice play there by Zeidels, and he looks poised to be able to take this game.
Yep. Gets a couple med kits as well. Now his chance to go ahead and refill that HP. And now he has the option with 7 players left alive and the high ground if he wants to stagger himself back and try to get a sneak attack onto anybody. But instead, he just goes for a little bit of a drop down. He's just trying to figure out where everybody's positioned so that way he knows what the correct move is going to be.
Yeah, just putting that pressure on, forcing the players to fight below. This is the right way to play. You don't want to drop down. It doesn't matter that you're not getting a ton of eliminations. Just play for the position that you're in. You have 2 med kits, but ConsoleBot's going to come on up. Nice cones by Zeidel. Turn him aside. ConsoleBot forced to go down to the storm. Now it's Zeidel's in a 1v1v1. Josh goes down. It's med kit time. Who has the most heals in this moment?
This is just a triple threat heal off here, and 1 med kit left on his idol. Those are on the bottom. He goes down. Vortex, we saw him almost get taken down early on, but he's stuck towards the low ground, out of heals, out of time. Zeidel's going to be the one taking the game and boosting himself up the leaderboard right before that halftime.
That was huge. That's exactly what you want to do. Able to play that high ground and still had that med kit. You saw he was starting to look around like, oh, where else is, I need some more heals just in case. Yeah. It doesn't come down to that. Great play there by Zeidels, and that should be shooting him right up the leaderboard.
Yeah, and Yasir, you got to give him all the credit in the world. It was well lasting, very, very long. Another big game from him, and throughout the course of that last game, we saw a couple of those players positioned lower than him go down early on in the game, not really collecting a lot of points.
Yeah, I would expect him to get a little bit of a padded lead as we go towards the back half of this tournament. He's played really well. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it, but let's take a look at our standings from game number 4. So Zeitels, who is our winner, able to pick up 2 eliminations, and we just see the points continue to get racked up. But right there in 12th, Pollo had a solid game with the claiming of Rift Island. That should help him move up the leaderboard.
Yeah, 2 peas in a pod, man, because that's where my eyes went initially. It wasn't necessarily the name Pollo, but it was the 30 points in 12th place, making sure, hey, I may have went down a little earlier than I wanted, but I did still pick up a ton of points, which is pivotal at this stage in the game because there's only 2 left.
Yeah, you're running out of time to make those comebacks, and we see actually the biggest elimination game comes from CR from ATL. The 6 elims from him is the most of this match. And solos is so hard to just pop off and have a big elim game. So based on what I'm seeing, you're running out of time. It's not going to be coming through these eliminations where you're racking up some kind of comeback. It's going to be from claiming that Rift Island and then winning the match.
Yeah, the eliminations are all fine and dandy, and they, 12 points for him off of that. But you have to combine it with a well-played game in terms of placement. That's where the majority of the points are going to be awarded in this solo competition. As we continue to look down the leaderboard, you're seeing the glow season, whether if it's the 50-point glow season or the 30-point glow season, 77th place is not where you want to be in Game 4, especially with how well your tournament started.
Yeah, it's been a tough one for some of these players. Need to figure it out. Again, let's take a quick break, grab some snacks, and we'll be right back.
Gaming is defined by moments.
It is intense.
The joy of victory and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Welcome to our home of competitive gaming, where we can all experience exciting esports moments
The final 1v1 of the game here.
and celebrate the pros and the rising stars,
I do want to see a female in the NCS.
bringing you guides and deep dives
Horizon can go up, but you can't go up fast.
and tournaments where the community competes.
Wait! Did he get? No way!
Whether you're in a heated match
Back, let's go.
or watching along at the edge of your seat,
A duo! Taking down a trio!
let's create moments from the games you love.
He'll take it.
Join us and subscribe to our channel to follow everything esports on PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that quick little break. Gave you a second to catch up in whatever you needed to do or check out what's going on in the world. I'm Somebody's Gun, joined alongside Jacob PR. This is the PlayStation Cup featuring Fortnite, and we take no breaks here. This is all gas, no breaks. Back into the game at Fencing Fields with Yasir. What have you seen from Yasir today that makes him stand out and has allowed him to build this lead, Jacob?
So one of the biggest things is, like, you know how ever-changing Fortnite is, drop spots, the way people play. It just seems like Yasir has almost calculated every scenario he's going to run into. And look at how quickly these games are starting. As soon as he ends up in the box, that player gets taken out, sent right back to the lobby. And again, like I'm saying, Yasir just seems like one of the most calculated players in the lobby right now. And it's going to take somebody else stopping Yasir's run. Because if nobody's going to step up to that plate, Yasir, I feel like, has this one in the bag at this point. There's my prediction. Game 5, I said it was going to come.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to stop somebody if they don't go down. And that's like one of the biggest challenges of Fortnite is you don't necessarily have a ton of control as to what the other players are doing, especially if you land nowhere near them. And it's a matter of, like, do I risk my, let's say, third place for trying to take out first place? Well, it's probably not worth it. But we'll see. Decisions like that have to start to be made.
Yep. Depending on where you're at in the leaderboard, the impact of these next couple of games is going to be so important. The difference of just kind of collecting that $100 of top 100, making it to the finals, or getting the lion's share of that money. And with 64 points so far, you're definitely climbing up that leaderboard, putting yourself in a top 5 position on the leaderboard. Dorito could be the same thing. He's currently positioned 5th. But that leaderboard, outside of maybe Yasir, is just a few points separating each other from that next placement.
We do see a couple of players already going down early. We're down to 85. We see Alfonso deciding to play for the train. This is the first time we've really seen any action in the train. So, in case you guys didn't know, the train just moves around. It's a nice little addition to Fortnite. We've never really had something like this, but you can get loot, you can claim the train, get additional loot, and it just continues to move around, give you some loot if you're patient enough. Also, we'll go into Storm, it breaks builds, so it's a good place to land and get some loot. I don't know that I want to hang out there like Alfonso.
Even if you have the ballistic shield, hiding in a corner, maybe just trying to pretend like I'm not here, just look somewhere else. That's probably his hopes, his dreams right now.
You can't get mats.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That is okay. Let's see where the train leaves him off at. Maybe he's trying to get a free ride to the center of the zone.
I'll take a free ride.
Winner of that last game, 58 points, definitely boosted up the leaderboard himself. But still, you know, top 10 position. Still needs to be able to hold on to it in this next 2. But luckily for him, he's already getting the confidence flowing with a quick early elimination here in this game.
Dorito here. One of the players within striking distance. Not necessarily super close. Pollo is another one. We already saw Polo get a little more aggressive. You know, I called Pollo Polo in a video I made, and you would never guess how many people tried to correct me of how it's properly said.
It's just happened. It happens, man.
You get in the moment.
I was like,
just read what's on the screen.
It's the beauty, though, at the same time, though, of how unique each individual is when it comes to Fortnite. You know what I mean? From the spelling of the name to the thought process behind it. It just goes to show that, you know, a good portion of our community is creative, and I want to see them keep it up, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I want to see an MVPR at the end of somebody's name, though.
All right, who's doing it? MVPR. Give Jacob a shout in chat if you change your name to something MVPR. Part of the Jacob clan.
Oh.
I thought that was over.
Yeah, that was scary. But this is exactly how he started off in that last game. We saw him with 6 eliminations. He wasn't able to really nail it down with a high placement game to kind of collect the maximum amount of points possible. But at least he's getting in his groove. He's finding his stride. And with these early eliminations, he's setting himself up to at least have a good mid-game.
The most eliminations in the previous game. CR already picking up 1 and looks to be trying to get aggressive once again. Doesn't want to spend those mats, but still wants to get up on these builds. There ain't much left, buddy. You ain't missing anything. We're too early in the game for these players to really have that many materials.
I just wonder where he's going to get him. There is some good brick around. How much is left over is a whole nother question. Notorious. Go ahead and getting and securing that forecast tower. So 3 more points added to his total. The ability to see every zone. And I have like a little bit of a question. Maybe this is too deep into strategy, right?
Okay.
Pretend you're the guy that sees Notorious get that forecast tower.
Yep.
Are you letting him live and following him to every zone because you know he knows where it's at?
I'm not letting him live, but I'm going to look at what outfit he was wearing and keep that in mind as Glow just puts Tresky in a montage. But I'm going to go ahead and watch that player a little more closely because you could essentially get forecast yourself if you could just keep track of that player.
Exactly. That's my thought. I never really thought about that until now, and maybe it's been a strategy amongst, you know, the best of the best for quite some time. You know what I mean? But interesting to see.
So there definitely was. There was a time when there was the Storm Scout sniper.
Yep.
And you would see players make movements that made no sense. And then during that time, the top players would realize, like, oh, they're pulling out a sniper and then rotating. So then I know, okay, follow that player because they know where the next zone is. So it is a thing, but I guess it's just way harder with the forecast tower because if you're not there to see it happen, then did it really happen?
True. So it's just maybe those 1 in maybe 10 games possibility, maybe even harder than that. But, you know, it just goes to show, like, how deep the strategy can run when it comes to Fortnite. Not just all box fighting and fights, even though that is something that we do love to see. Leftover Prize does seem to be getting chased down on the defensive end, trying to survive. Chant there on the other side, not really want to let this damage that he got go to waste. And immediately, once again, going and taking over that high ground. Eventually, I think Leftover Prize is going to end up in a position to where he tries to stabilize and heal, and that could be a moment for them to close the gap.
Interested to see how he decides to take his fight. Leftover Prize seems to be really good at fighting defensively. Doesn't seem to be great at finishing fights. We've seen Leftover Prize in a similar position last game. Goes down once again. Chant able to get that elimination. Now trying to figure out what he wants to hold and move forward with. In a good spot though. This is one of the best areas to be able to see where everyone is around you. It's not a place where you're really just going to get snuck up on.
You add in the fact that he's not too far away from the zone, but we do see at least one player within striking distance, AR distance of one another, and they both have the same thought process. Go to the slower side of the zone. Try to rotate where it is least congested. So if everybody has that mindset, well, you're going to run into each other eventually. Plasmafy choosing to disengage away from the cache. In theory, he does have better loot than the cache will give out. You know what? He finds another one. What are the odds of that?
3.2%.
Okay.
This stat was brought to you by Totally Made Up. You want stats that you could totally make up? Well, just make up stats. They're totally made up.
I like it. Because then you're correct 100% of the time.
Oh, they're always made up. I'm probably the best fake stat maker-upper in all of Fortnite.
Get SVG stats while you can. Ken on the other side. Just a little bit of a relentless battle. Luckily for both of them, they're both in the zone. Fighting over the same piece over and over. Ken nearly not wanting to give it up. Immediately firing shots to break it as soon as it goes over to his opponent. And this is where they're going to have to make the decision of how much they continue to engage on one another, because they're on the edge of zone where a lot of players are going to continue to rotate into.
You can trying to play for this cash, depending on how long this fight lasts, might just wind up spending more materials than it's worth to hold this. But also, yeah, it's your prize. It's not just necessarily the material. Sometimes it's just, hey, this is mine. I'm going to sit here and fight for this as long as it takes. and you're going to be the one that's forced to leave.
More times than not, that is the case, especially when it comes to Loot Island. I've already seen it happen so many times here today. Vela just getting backed up little by little. But in that moment of backing up, he's just trying to go ahead and regain some of the shields. 26, not a ton of damage, but at least it shifts the fight a little bit into his favor. As we jump on board first place, Yasir, who looks like he's already hot on the chase. From 1 HP, see on from ATL. Trying to hide into those builds. It goes over. Quickly resets and edit. Yasir just like a laser on him. Right now I'm knowing exactly where the target is at and not missing a beat.
As if he needed more points, Yasir picks up another 2. Everybody's going to start to pick up placement. We've gotten past that 75 player threshold. Ken still over here fighting the same fight. Someone's got to win this one. Do they?
I mean, someone might win this one, but it might not be the 2 players that are involved in the fight for now. Zone pushing away, Ken trying to capture the weapon cache. For him, the most important thing is going to be the material that comes out of it. He's getting drained down little by little with each defensive wall he tries to hold on to. A little cheeky pre-fire shot. Trying to shoot anything through. You see where the zone is rotating. Rift Island once more. And this time around, when it comes to Rift Island, at the very least, there's not too many players that are already there, ready for it to spawn, even though there's about 5 currently. Typically, we've seen 8 to 10 players.
Yeah, just give it a second. They'll be there, don't worry. We do see a couple of players already starting to go up for that Rift Island. 2 of them going up. You got a 3rd making a position. There's a 4th. Looks like a 5th is on the way.
Where did he even come from? I swear Yasir was just somebody else. Somehow he finds it's like a magnet to a fridge. Yasir and Loot Island. Name a better duo.
Ooh.
Oyo's there as well. It seems to be a lot of the same names for the most part. Maybe you insert and change 1 or 2 here and there, but it's been the same players. Dorito, Pollo, Yasir's up there.
Pickle, too.
Pickle again. You dry cereal. The same names time and time again, and some of these players need it more than others.
Yeah, Yasir's just pretty much trying to gatekeep people from getting the points. Oh, nice. Alright. Or dry cereal. And Yasir picks that up at the same time. That is a double win. Okay. Wow. I'm going to say it's all Ogre.
See, I'm going to be the hopeful. I'm going to be on the other side. Even though I have Yasir winning the PlayStation Cup, it's not over. Game 6, we're going to have somebody else capture Rift Island. We're going to have a 2-horse race. I believe Dorito going in trying to heal up. Interesting decision to use that side of heals rather than just the big pot, because then you would get the low gravity effect combined with the grappler, allow rotate just a little bit easier. But 66 points, Dorito. He knows what he's doing at this stage in the game.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right play.
All right,
actually, I don't. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it is, because like overall HP, you're going to be able to get more from holding shields. Both of those are going to give you 100 shield total, but then you have the ability to possibly pick up a 3rd shield, versus you're not going to be able to get more shield from the Flowberry phase.
Okay, I see. Because you're not really going to find one of those laying around either. It's probably going to be in somebody's inventory. TS here just still jumping around. Rift Island this time, unlike some of the other games that we've seen so far, is actually going to be in zones. So the players have the luxury of being able to stay there much longer than they're used to from previous games.
And there's really no reason to have to move. Yasir's just getting aggressive. Oh, no. We know at this. He's getting in. What? Player able to hold off for the moment? Yasir's going to be relentless, though. Chasing this down. He pokeballs the player. Yasir takes him out. And that's another elim. This Rift Island has been super plentiful for Yasir. Like, you can't really ask for more than what he's gotten from this island.
I think you can't ask more than he's gotten in this one particular game. 4 eliminations so far. And I think this is actually more bad news from the rest of the lobby, right? Because he has a generous point lead already. The game's not over with yet. So now he has the comfortability literally to play how he wants. He can continue to play aggressive. Because if he goes down, let's just say right now at this game, that's really not going to hurt him too much in the overall point standings.
No, definitely not. You got to consider this a successful game already, able just to claim the Rift Island, get all these eliminations. Now anything from this point on is just extra. This is just like icing. Well, now, I guess you need icing on a cake. That's probably not the right saying. It's like having your cake after eating it, I guess. I'm trying to have some kind of cake reference, but I don't think it's going to work.
Have your cake and eat it too?
Yeah, but that's typically like you're trying to do too much. But I guess he will be able to eat it too if this game comes out in a win.
Okay.
I don't know. Don't listen to me.
No, I mean, I get the thought process behind it. But unfortunately enough, he's going to have to make his rotation. No more sitting around, twiddling thumbs. Zone's going to pull northwest away from Rift Island. First he sees one player go, and you said it yourself. You just don't want to be the first one. So as soon as Dorito makes the leading charge, you see her following close behind, and this is where he actually does have the luxury to make that decision. Do I continue to go deep? Do I try to go to play where the zone is going to open up? Or do I go to where I see a spot that is at least a little bit comfortable in zone?
And you saw he tried to get as far as he can so he could get into this area that's down below, but that's going to wind up costing him. He gets sprayed by a bunch of different directions, able to throw down a bunch of builds. He's building pretty big, trying to give himself a moment, but the pressure is coming from multiple directions. That's Notorious getting nearby, and I don't know that Notorious is actually looking to get aggressive. He just happens to come and box up nearby for a second. That's actually huge for Yasir, not having to worry about the players that were pressuring him, continuing that pressure, and now he's got a moment to breathe. That's a huge sigh of relief if I'm Yasir.
Yeah, and with Storm Surge popping up, the amount of aggression he had to start the game off, same could be said with Dorito. Neither of them really have to make any risky peeks, show anybody where they're positioned. If you look at the mini-map finally opening up, you see a good couple of people trying to go towards the north side, find themselves some comfortability. Could be a chance for some of those players to also try to re-farm, gain some resources if you are bone dry at this stage. Plasmafy on the other side, just playing defensive. Sees that he became a target momentarily, and you see him reposition outside of the wood, into the brick. The shots are not slowing down just yet.
Now we see Plasmafy slowing this fight down, doesn't want to get involved in that chaos. He's like, all right, you guys, relax. Bring it back in. Plasmafy looking down below, trying to see if any of those players get caught lacking. Maybe a potential free elimination, but now he's got to focus on that rotation because there's a lot of elevation in between him and the zone. It's not the easiest of plays, but it can be done, especially with that grapple blade.
You see the lone swimmer on the left side, free rotation in towards the zone. Nobody really even looking in that direction. Yasir, one taking C. Yasir is going to go ahead and take the air. Everybody else is going to take the land, but goes towards that ultimate low ground. It's kind of continuing of what you said earlier. He just doesn't want to bite off more than he can chew at any stage in the game because he wants to win the tournament here in Game 5. He doesn't want to wait until Game 6 to where it can slip away at a moment's notice.
Zone will begin to move. All of these players have to figure it out. Dorito shooting at Yasir down below. Both players already in the storm, so there's not really anything these two have to worry about. Looks like Noisy is going to be the one that gets decided to get shot at by the lobby. Replays closing that distance. Both these players going to start to get pressured now, and Replays put himself in a bad position. Replays is the one that winds up going down, and Noise is able to stay alive and get that elimination. I doubt it's for long based on everyone spraying him.
Yeah. Even if you don't get the elimination, you got to be thankful that one less player left in the lobby. And on the other side, you don't get the elimination for Yasir. You just go in, grabs a lot of that loot, and it's actually a decent amount of loot because now he can go ahead and use a lot of those extra resources, exactly that, to build himself a box. I'll put it in one place and get ready for this next rotation. That way he has more to work with.
It's a great shout there from Jacob. Everyone here on this eastern side, and it is going to pull towards the majority of this lobby. Going to make it a little easier for most of these players, so don't expect too many players to go down based on the zone. There will be fights happening, and there will be Storm Surge that gets active, and it looks like Yasir is looking to play a higher level once again, possibly looking for that high ground play.
I think it's been almost every single game so far. Yasir finding himself with some elevation, if not the most elevation in the lobby, but with this next rotation, I feel like what he's going to do is kind of continue to build up. And if somebody gets in front of him on the low side of the zone, that's when he's going to grapple over, save some resources. That way, if a fight does break down for that high ground, he has more than enough to deal with it.
Aiden looking for the triple play with that triple burst shotgun. Is going to get snuck, though. Wasn't paying attention. Some shots come through, but no real significant damage. Only going to lose a little bit of health. Able to get that back. Pops the Flowberry, puts himself in a position. Now it looks like Dorito is going to be the one trying to play the high ground. Aiden makes it the front side of the zone, but Dorito's going to be playing backside here, looking to play for height. And I say that, but he's actually smack in the middle of the zone, so no backside, no front side. It's Dorito right in the middle.
Yeah, and Pollo's just right below him with only a few pieces actually holding Dorito up. So even though for now, there might not be a knockdown play coming out from Pollo, but it's always going to be a possibility, depending on where this next zone does rotate. About a couple seconds, we're going to see where players are forced, and we're going to keep going towards the eastern side of the zone. Luckily, a lot of that elevation shift already happened.
And this is going to go through a bunch of old builds. It does look like Dorito's going to take some damage. Yasir on the other side tries to get the front side of zone, is going to be able to claim this layer. Looks like Deshawn's right there too, but deciding, I don't want to fight for this layer. I'll just go up, buddy. We're good, we're good. Now Yasir already looking to put pressure on players in the zone and knows the rotate will need to be made, but really you're trying to wait for zone to move further. You want the storm to kind of move out of the way so that your next rotate is the last one you have to make for this zone.
Yep, and then you can kind of steal high ground away from a lot of those rotating players. Dorito's going to try to hold on to it for now. Shifting between him and Yasir as the top two front runners to try to claim it as their own. You can see him just trying to beam anybody through the sky, but he has to be careful though. Compared to a lot of the other players we've seen with high ground, he does not have a ton of medium ammo to work with as a fight breaks down. High ground looking like it's going to be overthrown. Dorito trying to hold on to it, but it came at a cost. SBG, he is very low on resources at this stage in the game now.
Yeah, Vortex thought he had the front side high ground, but Dorito was way above him. Dorito actually is going to be able to get that refresh that he desperately needs, everything besides that ammo, so that could be the deciding factor, but he has so many med kits and is in a great position to win this game. We see he's going way, way up here. Knows that that's going to be the main factor is how high up he is. Yasir is able to pick up another elimination. He seems to be putting this tournament away.
Yeah, he's just trying to lock it in. 97 points. Him and Dorito trying to hold on as two strong players here left in the lobby, but everything comes crashing down at one point or another. Dorito forced to give up that high ground, but the medkits are still the prevalent thing in his inventory because he can stagger himself. 6 medkits is more than enough to win a heal off. Seer on the other side, first place. 23 points ahead of Dorito. So for Yasir to go ahead and outlast everybody here will basically put that final nail in the coffin.
Dash is a player that's also looking to try and make that opportunity. Dorito continuing to go for these high plays. He's relentless on his pressure, but there's other players looking to make it. It's not just him, and he spent so many materials trying to make these high ground plays that this could wind up costing him so much. He's going to try and chop, though. Not going to be the right move. He decides otherwise, just looks down, tries to find the position. Where can he be? It's looking like Ken's up above. Your bro Ken, he's going to be the one to play high ground, at least for the moment. Uses the Flowberry Fizz to give himself that ability to not take damage, and he is going to start to get chopped. He goes down, but still is able to take and hold height for the moment as Dorito's getting in. The refresh comes through, but not for him. That's going to be the other way as Chance taking him down.
That is a huge shift there for Dorito. The point game comes to a huge halt. Top 20 we go. Dash, second place to start this game off. This is a chance for him to keep the gap close between him and Yasir, and if Yasir goes down, this could be a moment for him to steal away the first, but another elimination for Yasir as he takes down Rise. Shots coming in from different directions. Yasir down to just wood as he pops the medkit to try to stagger himself and buy some time.
Just going to look to make a little bit of a storm play, get to front side, box up, does find enough space to hold the box here. Now it's going to be contested as players start to get into this position. Can Yasir find another refresh to keep this chain going? Can Dash stay alive long enough to make a difference within this game? It's going to be different.
Wow.
Down goes Aiden. Yasir gets another one. That's going to be a huge extension, and Aiden had a ton of materials. This looks like it's in the bag.
Yeah, he got a top 10 performance. Majority of the points have already been secured for Yasir, but Ken trying to have two back-to-back pop-off performances and climb up that leaderboard. We said there's thousands of dollars up for grabs for each and every one of these placements, and Ken wants some of that money for himself.
Ken definitely does, and even though this might not be a play for first place because of the consistency from Yasir, there's still hundreds, if not thousands of dollars at stake. We see Yasir trying to claim every piece above. He needs to make a play, though. It's not just about claiming, it's looking to make a play. He doesn't see the player down below, but Ledesma misses the shots. Yasir is able to get one. Now it's a final 1v1v1 where all the players are looking to make plays. It's ConsoleBot going down. It's Lennox alive. Flitz is going to be going down as well, and it's ConsoleBot is going to be able to make the play for your bro Ken. We are now fans. It's all our bros. Your bro Ken, welcome to the club.
He's officially our brother Ken. Congratulations for not only popping off in that last game, but getting the eventual victory royale here in Game 5. And that is so pivotal to SBG because that was the last moment before we go into Game 6. It's going to come down to all or nothing in our final game.
Yeah, I would guess that's probably a few $100 win. You know, you don't necessarily win directly from, get the cash directly from the win, but nonetheless, that win is huge. It's going to be putting him up the leaderboard. He got a couple of eliminations as well, so even though Yasir was the star of that match, your bro Ken putting in the work in order to get himself some big guap towards the end of the day.
Yeah, and we saw Dorito go down. We saw Dash go down. We saw a lot of our players towards the top of the leaderboard go down, not necessarily fairly early, but earlier than they wanted. You combine that with the fact that another top placing game for Yasir. This one is looking like it is almost out of reach in our 6th game, but anything could happen because if Yasir goes down early in Game 6, that is going to be a game that nobody wants to miss.
Definitely not. He's gonna have to. He's been landing at one of the more contested POIs too, so it's no guarantee that Yasir is able to even make it off spawn. But we do see Ken able to win that game. Had a couple of eliminations, a couple of other players that had solid games. Flitz, Lennox, ConsoleBot, obviously Yasir with the capturing of the POI and all the eliminations. Ledesma has a solid game, and honestly, I believe the 8 eliminations by Yasir are the most. And one name standing out to me is Bolts, putting himself on the leaderboard with one of the top games he's had so far today.
Yeah, that's important to go ahead because, like I said, even if you have no shot at getting first place in terms of points, there's still so much money up for grabs, bragging rights, and proving to yourself that you can have a bad start to a tournament and still pop off and finish fairly well. You see Pollo here, you see Dorito, 13 points for him in that last game with a 22nd place finish. A lot of players, man, this is it. Game 6, what are you expecting?
I'm expecting a lot of chaos. I expect the players that are lower on the leaderboard to just look to make plays. You don't really have much to lose if you're not going to be, up in that top 10 anyway. You might as well try and make a play. It's like, waiting for nothing to happen or trying to make something happen yourself. So that's what I'm expecting from a lot of these players. It's being more aggressive, looking to make things happen, to put yourself up a leaderboard, and that's not exactly a position that I would want to be in, but there's a lot of players in that position nonetheless.
Yeah, you see the final players here on the leaderboard. Going down very early, Cam is a name, 87th place. don't really expect him to see him that low on the leaderboard, especially in one particular game. But hey, it's Fortnite. Sometimes anything can happen. It's how about you deal with a lot of these situations.
Yeah, you do. Now, one thing that helps some of our players, the officially licensed for the PlayStation 5, you have the Western Digital Black NVMe SSD. It has 4 terabytes of storage, so if you're making content, you're hitting clips, you are trying to record all your games so you can go back and watch them and VOD review after, well, you know, that SSD is going to help you, and Western Digital's got you covered. So make sure that you are keeping quiet, keeping cool with the Western Digital SSD for your PlayStation 5.
Yep, if you guys get one of those, make sure you guys start your content journey, because content is king.
Definitely is. And you can go ahead and tag Jacob PR on Twitter. Make sure you let him know when you hit a clip, it's Jacob_MVPR. He is the clip master.
And who knows, I'll probably cast it and reply back to you guys. So
you do love to do that. I mean, you should do that again.
I should. I'm just going to go on Twitter one of these days and just cast all the PlayStation Cup clips that I see.
All right. Well, game number 6. Everything left at stake. It looks like Yasir has been able to secure it, but there are still plenty of players within striking distance. Is Yasir going to be able to hold it down? If he makes it, I'd say to end game. And
mid game.
If the dude's
it makes it to mid game. It's his tournament to lose, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, based on previous games, he's going to be going for that Rift Island as well, and he has little, if nothing, to lose by going for that. So if he gets that, I mean, we can bring the crown out. You can bring the trophy over to his house, and we'll crown a champion.
He has 21 eliminations so far throughout 5 games. 8 is going to be the max, along with a 5th place finish. Nobody is really that close to him so far. I'm trying to count up the tallies, count the totals. Lennox is on course, but just to give, comparison, 21 for Yasir, Lennox has 13. So it just really goes to show the amount of work Yasir is putting in. This is a well-deserved placing on the leaderboard. Let's see if he can hold out here in Game 6.
Now it'll be to watch that middle of the pack. There's a lot of money at stake. So first place is $2,500. Second is $1,500. $1,200 for third. $1,000 for fourth. And all the way up through that top 10, you're bringing home over $400. So a lot of players, well, yes, we've talked about, you guys are probably tired of us talking about how far ahead Yasir is. Well, for second, all the way down to, I mean, even 14th. There's only a 30-point-ish difference, so that's just a win. So we can see a big swing in those middle points, middle places, and that could mean the difference of hundreds or thousands of dollars changing hands.
Yeah, we've already seen the prize breakdown to start the show. It's literally thousands towards the top side of the leaderboard, hundreds as we get down, so it's not a time to give up just because it is Game 6. And you can see, even though Yasir with a massive lead, he's not switching up his game plan. He's not taking this one lightly, because for him, this is bragging rights. For him, it's a chance to probably win with the biggest gap in PlayStation Cup history.
I wonder what that is. If anyone knows the stats, please share them. But Dash is one of those players that is within striking distance. Coming into this game with 85 points, 10 points back of second place. Does have an opportunity, though, to come up big. I mean, even the distance or difference between third and second is enough to where he could make a big play. And we see Leftover Prize, one of the players that's been on the back foot of many fights, now appearing to want to get engaged here with Dasharoon.
And Dash, he probably has his thinking cap on right now. Is this fight worth it? He's currently positioned third on the leaderboards, 10 points out of second. If he can pick up this elimination very, very early on, since they are so isolated on this side of the build. Actually, no, out of nowhere, Dorito with a nice shot. Yasir's there as well. Another player gets taken down. Yasir's just taking everything for himself.
He is. Looks like he's going to try and disengage here. Doesn't want to get involved with Dorito there. Interesting. Yasir, though.
Hey, he's just
looking to fight everyone else.
He sees him, he hears him, he's going. Oh, that's he probably met his match right there. That's why he left.
Yeah, you don't mess with the NPCs.
Frenzy has his own. He knows the NPC's in there. You see him quickly just taking his time. And for someone that's in Yasir's position, I like the thought process behind it. You don't want to throw it away. It doesn't matter how big your lead is. You don't want to leave it up to chance.
Yeah, and I don't think he is. He's taking everything he can into his hands. Seemingly able to do whatever he wants at his POI. Looks like Ken's going to go over to the forecast tower. He knows the NPCs will be spawning here in about a minute and a half, so just going to have to chill in a good spot. Get that NPC down, get 3 more points, and Ken is currently our second place player. I think that if he's able to win the game and put himself in a spot where he can capture Rift Island, drop a 30 bomb, he may win the tournament.
You know, I think of how big the gap is, but that's one thing in that second of thinking about the gap. I didn't really put together that the Rift Island is a huge part of being able to catch up in these games, depending on where you're at in the leaderboard. But at the same time, guess who's up there? Majority of the games ready to fight for it, so might have to take it by force, as Ledesma's doing exactly that. Lands a good shot, drops down, trying to finish this one off against Amplify, who's just playing on the defensive end. A good shot to try to whittle him down. Force Ledesma to really think about the situation here and if he wants to continue to play aggressive.
Looks like the answer is yes. He's going to try and continue, but Amplify going to be able to do enough, but not enough, though. Ledesma gets right in the face. Has to be careful. There's players nearby. But it does look like that player nearby, Roxanne, is just going to walk away. Doesn't really care. And now we're looking at another one. You see her able to get Vine. And just going to walk away from that player that was right next to him.
Just choosing wisely. You know, he's getting a little nervous right now, missing a couple of shots. Pollo is the other player that's there that they don't necessarily know Pollo is there. I feel like Pollo's been sneaking around the top of these buildings, really trying to keep his position unknown so that way he has a huge advantage in the fight. And I felt like he might have been sneaking up on Dorito there. The Dash, second place. Already got 1 elimination. Placement points already creeping in. Dash, he's on a run here to try to creep up. Is at least a good amount of money. I think it's like $300 difference for Dash to grab if he moves up to second place.
It's a significant amount of money. I will look and tell you exactly what it could be. Second is $1,500. Third is $1,200. So moving up that gap, so it's probably worth it. We do see our second place player, Ken, is going to just be hanging out now. He's got really no reason to leave this area at the moment.
Not at all.
Zone's pulling this way. He's pretty much in the middle. And this tower is a great position. If he goes up a couple of blocks, he's going to be able to see most of the zone from this area. So absolutely no reason to move.
As Dorito returned to the scene of the crime, you can see that he was able to get the NPC boss, get the mythic. You got to imagine the medallion is in there as well. And so for him, now that he has the loadout and the loot that he wants, it's just about getting those resources. With the early game skirmishes, even though he doesn't have an elimination just yet, you got to imagine he does have some damage when it comes to Storm Surge. Now it's just about padding that stat.
Looks like Dorito's trying to pad some of those elims himself. Looking to get engaged on Faith. Now decides it's not worth it, though. Oh, wait, no, it goes back. All right. Don't know what's going on here. Very indecisive from Dorito, going back and forth. Don't know whether or not they want to actually take the fight or just walk on out of here.
Okay, no, he just wants the extra hills, the big pots. See what's left behind. It is on the outskirts of the zone, or at least the edge of the zone, so in theory, a lot of players traveling from the western side are going to have to go through him if they do want to find some safety inside of the zone. Dorito really not having to worry about much. Free fishing, instant fishing, thanks to those EMP grenades.
I didn't know that. That's a
neat trick, right?
yeah. That's cool. I like that.
Look at all the fish.
Hey, you can quickly. It looks like just. Oh no, shieldfish spawn too.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I actually saw a short not too long ago. It's the only reason why I know that.
I need to get on that grind. Need to figure out all those little strats.
Yep, I'm waiting for the educational series from SBG so I can get better at Fortnite.
Oh, once tourneys start, you know those VOD review contents are coming all over.
I need all I can get in terms of help. But Desmond may not need the same amount of help as me, though. 82 points, he's looking good. Options there, but he's choosing to keep the big pot and the med kits, which we already discussed. I think you've kind of turned my thought process around, so I do agree with the loadout choice.
You see, Ken really hasn't moved yet. Has no need to. Just chilling.
And that's the thing, too. With the zone moving, even though Ken, it's a little bit easier because he did get the forecast tower. You know, it's easy to think that you have to rotate in some of these zones. But we've seen it time and time again. Zones will pull one direction, then immediately try and pull back. So it's just all about, you know, your knowledge, your experience within Fortnite. And obviously just making a decision and sticking with it.
And it's constantly trying to weigh, is it worth moving? Because a lot of times if you're already in zone, it's not worth the effort to move from your position to a different position. Especially like I mentioned earlier, where Ken is probably one of the best positions already in the game, and he likely won't have to move for several zones now. So he is chilling. Kind of just has to hope Yasir goes down, then make something special. We're going to see who goes for this Rift Island here in a moment. If I'm Ken, I'm probably not doing it because there's very little chance that I'm able to make up that ground, and I'd rather secure this second place versus try and play for first, which is very far away. But what are you doing here, Jacob?
I think I got to agree with you. Maybe not risk Rift Island, but maybe that's also why I never won a cup. You know, it's a 41-point difference between Ken and Yasir right now. So in theory, if he did capture that Rift Island almost uncontested, he still needs to make up 26 points. With the way Yasir has been playing, you're almost betting on him just kind of going down, getting eliminated, and I don't think that's a possibility. I don't think that's going to happen with Yasir unless he just wants to go for some sort of record in terms of eliminations.
Yeah. He might be. You never know. But Dash also still trying to make this happen. Dash is like the opposite side, where Yasir is going for maybe a record-breaking day. Dash is trying to stay away from everybody and just chill out here all the way on the outskirts, hope nobody tries to engage him. For as late into a tournament as we are, I would have expected to see players play more aggressively.
I was thinking the same.
Yeah, to still have 67 up at this moment in the last game is way more than I would have guessed going into the match.
I think it has to do with a little bit of the beauty of the format, you know, because typically in you know, some of our cups that we do have out in the world of Fortnite, you know, it's top 3 and then everybody else gets the same money. You know, PlayStation, I think, has taken it above and beyond to say every single one of your placements at a certain level. I know there's groupings towards the tail end, but every single one of your placements, you get rewarded more and more and more, obviously with first place being the lion's share. And I think that's a huge impact of the aggressive state of this lobby, or I should say the lack of aggression here in Game 6.
And it looks like even the most aggressive player so far is calming it down as we see Yasir just chilling. Looks like Dorito is taking some shots, but not really getting involved as he's starting to posture himself and figure out, how am I going to try and play for this island? He's been a steady face on that island. He's going to go up, look to make that play. First one there. That means something. Who knows if it means he gets it? We'll have to find out.
Yep. I just wanted to see if Yasir is going to go. Yep. Well, thank you for letting me know my question before I even asked it. Because right here, it's not necessarily important for Yasir to grab the Rift Island. It's the put everybody in shambles that are going for Rift Island as well, even if he doesn't pick up a single elimination, but already gets a good damage lead onto one player. And you see his quick movement around, so that player he was originally targeted may not necessarily know the angle he was coming from at first, but the piece control goes over. But look at it's not slowing him down. His confidence has to be at an all-time high. I wish I had his confidence.
Oh, the quick box almost gets that player. You see her, though, still chasing the ceiling. Plasmafy is going to go down. That's another one there for Yasir. Now he's got to fight for this Rift Island POI. It's actually too late, though, as Dorito's able to claim it. And that's a big one for Dorito. That now puts him in contention for that second place spot.
I'm trying to do quick maths, right? So that's about 92 points. Depending on where Dash is at, and I think last we saw him was around 88. Maybe 89. So yeah, I think Dorito might have just taken away second place with the Rift Island capture. Pollo's still around. For him, it's just about gathering the scraps and staying alive.
Pollo has a chance to do something special if he can stay alive. It looks like he put a lot of weight in going for this island, but winds up getting fried on the way up there. Dorito also, he's played super aggressive with like going for shots and stuff, but hasn't necessarily been able to like find that last shot to get an elimination here. We'll see if he's able to pick up Pollo.
Yeah, and I think him and Yasir being duo partners, they share very, very similar game plans. I just think Yasir has just been executing that much better. Pollo's bravery, he's still staying around. He already obviously got a med kit due to that leftover loot. Yasir, 3 med kits as well. A lot of them staying on top of the island now. Just waiting for where this next zone goes. You know, then they're going to launch pad off. But make sure you guys follow SVG's #1 rule. Just don't be the first one.
Looks like no one wants to fight here up on this island. Everyone just hanging out for the moment. It makes sense, though. Zone's going to pull. It's not really worth it. Dorito waiting for his opportunity. He knows Yasir's up above, but doesn't want to get beamed by either player up here.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for the players that are below, ready to use the launch pad, versus the ones that have the med kits. They have the luxury to be able to stay. It's just put yourself at a risk no matter what if you use a launch pad. Otherwise, it makes you take the long rotation down the island and around the map to try to get in towards the zone.
Here we see the rotate from Dorito. Looks like a player's following him right behind. Looks like that player was Cam that decided to choose that same rotation. Dorito's still got a way to go. So, over these mountains, this is a nightmare zone. I've been waiting for this all day, and at least we finally get it in the last game of the day. We haven't had these like nightmare-sized mountains in a while, and now to see this is the highest mountain in the game currently, and players are going to have to figure out how to navigate it.
You see Dorito just continuing moving forward. Typically in that house, it's full of so many slurp barrels. But you can see that one's looted down to the ground. Just a chance for Dorito to get a couple of pieces of metal. You see him quickly build a cone, just trying to hide into it. Not too many players are located around him, so it really all depends on if they saw him end up in that position, box himself with a cone, because it is built in wood, so they can easily try to target it and get some damage to go through before the fight starts.
Our current leader taking a look at where zone is pulling. Looks like we're all going to the north, so this is a tough position and going to be a fun one, although we're not fully going into these mountains, so not as nightmare as possible, but also we're going into a low area with 6 more zones to come, which could easily push this over into this mountainous area. Jake, I'm really just sitting here hoping it has to pull over these mountains and seeing how these players deal with it.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I love a roller coaster of a zone, just seeing like who really has what it takes to think outside of the box and deal with a lot of the pressure. Dorito, I feel like his own goal right here from zone to zone every single time is just get towards the zone and let a lot of these players go down, because he's already done enough to solidify himself second place on the leaderboard in this game. Barring any eliminations from Dash since the last time we did see him.
Yeah, I wonder if Dash has been able to pick up a few of those eliminations that he's going to need to push that up, and we do see still at 88 points, so really no placement points have gone through, and everyone that is alive has gotten all the same points, so it really doesn't help Dash that no one has fallen. We'll check in with Ken. We know Ken's already gotten 3 points from claiming the forecast tower, and he's got that forecast to know exactly where he should be, so I'd guess there's a reason he's in this house.
I want to believe so. Knows exactly where the zone is, just trying to refarm. Because he knows this next one is going to pull. He's just hoping he's on the side of that pull. And just judging by the lack of urgency to try to rotate, I got to agree with you. Zone's got to be somewhere nearby, or at least within reach for Ken.
Yeah, he spent a lot of mats to get to this point. I'm surprised to see a player with the forecast tower doesn't have more materials, but, you know, things happen. I would guess he got pressured at some point earlier in the game and just kind of got stuck in a position he didn't want to be. So even though you can see what's going on, it doesn't mean you can stop players from being over aggressive at you. I mean, Ken's still in a spot where we have a northern pull. So as much as we thought Zone may be pulling here, Jacob, it looks like he just stopped in this building to farm as many mats as possible.
It just kind of shows, you know, the decision-making process live and in action. You know, with the forecast tower ability to see the zone, he made the decision, instead of rotating early, to try to get resources, because, you know, even if you could see zone, getting there isn't going to be easy, especially in this lobby where you try to grapple or get through from point A to point B over everybody else. That's when you become susceptible to the majority of those shots.
You see Dorito continuing just to take shots. Unable to connect for enough to get an elimination. Dash still just looking. He's trying to find one of these eliminations, though. Respect to him, because he's not just sitting here waiting. He is trying to make something happen, and sees a player went down, gonna look for that refresh opportunity, and now make the rest of this rotation in the zone, and he should be good as long as he doesn't get caught out by everyone else, and it looks like there's nobody really even looking at him at this zone. And I think, as I say that, Dash gets shot, but he was looking up to play the top of that mountain, and that could be a really good spot for him to be.
Yeah. Ken just trying to hold on to second place, just found himself a crevice that he can hold on to in terms of being in towards the edge of the zone. 222 above the damage threshold as well. Really nothing to worry about for him. But you can see the north side of the zone overall is the dead side. There is not a single player position there, which is a little bit of a nightmare, because the zone pulling south means everybody from start to finish on this next pull is going to be congested together.
Yep, and we're going through a big elevation change, it looks like, for those all the way on the eastern side of the zone. So they're going to have to come down from their mountain and join the rest of these players down on the low ground. Ken, though. Ken and Dash still alive, so all of our top three still alive. This is unfortunately not good news for the bottom part of our top 10. There isn't really much room for them to make up, but nonetheless, still good to see these players continuing to have success throughout the rest of these games.
You can see that still a bunch of points still left on the board in terms of placement. But even though you're putting yourself in a good position on the leaderboard, collecting those points, not really going down, it still can turn in the blink of an eye if you do get taken down. Dash looking toward the right side, biding his time. I like the switch up of the material, trying to use the wood first, so that way he has the hard mat saved for later. Finally finds his way in towards zone, and once again boxes himself up. It's going to be a game of almost like cat and mouse as we end this last and final game.
Seer has won this tournament. Now he's just putting a little bit of cash up on the board, trying to play gatekeeper for these other players. Dolazur actually was one of those players up there that had a chance to make a difference in this last game, so in 5th place going into this game, it looks like he's going to finish no better than 5th place based on what just happened there.
Yep. Seer, 2nd place. Can he hold on to our 1st place, with Ken being 2nd place? He's trying to hold on to it. Dash right around the corner. Desma as well. Dozier. Dorito even. still left in this game, still alive, trying to hold on. Lennox is one of them. See Dash on the right side, 90 points, barely above the damage threshold when it comes to Storm Surge. With so many players around, it's not going to take him long to find a target if he does need that damage and finds himself below the threshold.
Oh, that's one of the scary moments. You wind up in the box of a player. He's able to quickly get out of there, though. Dash should look for some damage. Wouldn't think that he really needs much. We're going to start to see players going down. Dorito's going to be able to pick up Clover there. And then a player gets in his feast. Down goes Dorito. So he gets taken out by Hyrax. He's looking to make a charge here late. But it's now Ken. Ken's trying to stay alive. He has no more shield, but he's got enough to make this zone. What can he make happen?
Yeah, with Dorito going down, Ken, that's a saving grace. Barely peeking through those builds. Peak control is going to be important for him as he's going through peak through the cone. Zone catching up. It's going to force him to move momentarily. Same for Yasir, but he has far less stress or worries. Look at the map. CR from ATL. He's on ultimate high ground. Dash is trying to go around everybody else, quickly running out of builds. With the high ground, you see the position that's at, 56 points. He's just trying to line his pockets with money here in the last and final moments.
Yeah, looking to make it happen. You have to give him credit. He's trying to make whatever he can out of this last game. It's too late. It's not like he has anything left. Getting in the box. He's able to get an elimination there. That's another one from CR from ATL. He's been popping off when he's able to make it this late in games. And there's another elimination. He's going to slow it down. CR from ATL. Going to be looking to get aggressive again. What other players are in his sights?
Ooh, that's a big shot from Yasir on the other side. Ken trying to break through. Everything comes crumbling down, but that's not going to slow down Yasir. He's still knocking at the door, trying to make his way in. That player is so slippery. He's getting out. It's going to force Yasir to change targets from one weak opponent to another. He takes one down, and he leads even larger as it continues to grow. But Dash, 94 points. He's trying to catch up to Ken.
He is, and Yasir's trying to grab that med kit. It looks like it's been giving him trouble. He does eventually grab it after popping those floppers. Looks like Sobzy is up on the high ground trying to play it. That's a big shot there under Yasir. He's still trying to play for height, though. He doesn't care how much damage he's taking. He's just cranking, and it looks like Sobzy's going to have to give this up. But no, he's going to go for the chop, try and drop down Yasir. If he can hit this shot, that's a win. Down. Oh, no, not down. Down goes Yasir. There it is. There's first place out of it. I think Yasir's done enough, but now it's Sobzy trying to push himself up this leaderboard.
It's basically Dash versus Ken for second place. If Ken is still alive, Dash is in third, a few points behind. Ken on the other side, the lead ever growing. It's about 8 points between Ken and Dash. This is between $1,500 for that second place prize. This is a loss of about $300 if you come in third. I don't care how you look on it. It's the bragging rights as well for these players that matter so much.
Ken just goes down. Dash can secure it. He needs about 10 more points in order to get there. So he needs several more placements or a couple of eliminations. We can see he's not even editing on a player in a cone. He wants to play this safely. He knows what's at stake, and he's just waiting for his opportunity to stay alive.
It looked like he was eyeing one player, but he stopped to do a med kit. That forced Dash to continue to move forward. Top 10 we go. A few points behind. Roxanne goes down, but Dash is playing calm, cool, collected. He's as cool as a cucumber right now. Dropped into the box. HP and shield getting drained down. Somehow SMG, though, is the man at the high ground, and Dash literal points away from claiming that second place.
He pops his last big, and it looks like the medkit play is going to be here next, but a player tries to get in his box. Dash quickly throws down that wall. Down he goes. Has he done enough? CR from ATL able to take him down. Then Deshawn gets him. Then SMG comes in. Now it's a 1v1 versus Cam. Cam, do you have anything left?
He's popping bandages right now on the backside of the zone. Now it's the medkit. Another one down. SMG goes in, but Cam sends it right back on out to the lobby. The final game goes to Cam. Yasir, though, with a massive point lead. We know that he took our first place prize, but the question is, SBG, the question we're asking ourselves is, where does everybody else on the leaderboard land?
I don't know. It's going to be so close between those like top 5, top 10 spots. There's a lot at stake. That's hundreds of dollars we're talking about. And to see all of those players understand the stakes, especially Dash, you couldn't have played it too much better than he did, making it to that top 5. And also shout out to Cam, having a relatively quiet tournament, but showing up in the last game, 5 eliminations and the victory royale. I wonder how much that has pushed him up the leaderboard.
Yeah, every single one of these placings, along along with the groupings at the bottom of the leaderboard, is money. But let's go ahead and congratulate our 6 game winners for the day. We got Reset, we got Dorito, Ledesma's going to win game 4, Zidles, Ken, and Cam is going to round us out for all 6 of our games. And honestly, I'm looking at game 2, I'm looking at game 5, Ken and Dorito. I think those are the ones that are going to have the biggest impact on the leaderboard.
Yeah, no repeat winners this entire tournament. We did see several of these players consistently making it to that top 5, so surprised not to see anyone get 2, but that shows you the quality of this lobby. Just consistency is going to be the key of all these guys, and no one able to get more than 1 victory royale. Is we have a little wrap up from today, seeing a lot of these elims from all these players, and this last game was so exciting.
Yo, throughout the course of this, I already just seen Yasir take down 2 of our top players in that 6th and final game. Dash during his legendary run, was it enough? Even SMG climbing up the leaderboards to claim more money for himself as he took down Deshawn to try to close this one out. But inevitably it came down to the heal off. I like SMG stopping Cam from the full medkit play, but it just wasn't enough.
And we're going to start looking at the leaderboard. This is our overall leaderboard. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up to keep you guys on the tip of your toes. We get to see some of these players that didn't necessarily have a great day, but as we get up and up the leaderboard, again, still, you win $100 just for making it to the finals here. And then just more and more money as we've continued to go up here.
Yeah, and our top 60 here went from 100 to $200 each. You know, you're seeing some names here, honestly. I gotta give it to SMG. He closed out that last and final game, and I think that might have been the difference, SBG. That might have been the difference from just a plain old $100 to doubling up in that last game.
Yeah, I mean, we see 30 points or about for that victory, or no, we got second plus the elimination, so about 30 points there is most of his points. Definitely pushed him from that 100 point threshold up into that top 50, top 40, which is solid as we see some more players up in our 20 to 40 range. These players anywhere from $300 upwards.
Yep,
Deshawn, that's your boy?
Yep, so boy Deshawn with the 21st place. A little bit of a slow start for him, but he did pick it up at the tail end of our tournament. But the top side of the leaderboard, we knew Yasir had it, but a tie! A 106 tie between Ken and Dash, but Ken gets second place due to that VR that he was able to secure. Congratulations, our brother Ken.
That was incredible, and now you got to talk about how important that victory royale was earlier today. That is going to be the difference in a few $100. Shout out to Dash. You did about as much as you could. One more point necessary. We talked about it at the top of the tournament. It's going to be 1 or 2 points. Then if we look at the rest of the leaderboard, Dorito in 4th with 97. That win by Cam able to put him into the top 5, and Ledesma right there in 6th, right behind him.
Yeah, one last shout out though, CR from ATL, the only player realistically keeping up with Yasir's aggression. Unfortunately, the placement points weren't there to bring him over the top, but man, this has been one insane run from him. Elimination after elimination. I think he had 6 in one game, at least 5 in another. He's somebody that I got to be watching out for from this point forward in Fortnite.
Yeah, remember that name, CR from ATL. Maybe we want to do a little bit more branding by my guy. CR from ATL might not be the best, but hey, if you're good enough, doesn't matter what your name is. Everyone will remember that. Just like we remembered how Yasir ran through this tournament in absolute domination.
Yeah, just did not slow down from start to finish. He kept his game plan strong. He realistically did not switch anything up. It didn't matter how far he was ahead of the rest of the pack. He landed at his POI. He pushed everybody off. He went for Rift Island, and he closed out these games near perfection. Unfortunately, he didn't get a single VR, but he didn't need one to take first.
No, he had the consistency. But hey, if you guys are at home and you're wondering, hey, how do I get involved? How do I compete in any of these tournaments? Well, I got you. Go to compete.playstation.com in order to see when the next tournaments are coming, in order to sign up for one of the tournaments and get yourself involved, so that way you could be up here on the big stage when the next tournament comes around.
Yep, and go ahead and get casted by us or anybody else within the Fortnite community. and start your history-making journey today. But if you guys want to find some teammates to play with, maybe some friends to practice against, make sure you guys go and join the PlayStation Tournament Discord. The QR code is right there. It's quick, it's easy to get involved.
Definitely would recommend if you want to get involved in the tournaments. It's always easier. I know most of you people enjoy Discord easier than websites nowadays, but either one, you'll get to the right place. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching. It's been a great day. It's cold here in North America, but the only thing cold in these games was what we saw from Yasir. And Jacob, you know, any final words?
Hey, just congratulations this year. I mean, we keep talking about it, but it's hard to be consistent in general in a 6-game format. But to be consistent in the way that he did in terms of aggression and eliminations, this was a well-deserved victory, and I expect to see him next time in the next PlayStation Cup.
Yeah, we knew the name going in, and now we will be looking out for you come the next PlayStation Cup featuring Fortnite. I'm Somebody's Gun. That's Jacob PR. Make sure to go give him a shout. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the players and all the production team for being awesome. We couldn't do this without you guys. Anybody that viewed and had a good time, well, shout out. You're the best. Can't do it without you guys. We will see you next time. Until then, hang out and have some fun.
Gaming is defined by moments.
It is intense.
The joy of victory and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Welcome to our home of competitive gaming, where we can all experience exciting esports moments
The final 1v1 of the game here.
and celebrate the pros and the rising stars,
I do want to see a female in the NCS.
bringing you guides and deep dives
Horizon can go up, but you can't go up fast.
and tournaments where the community competes.
Wait! Did he get? No way!
Whether you're in a heated match
Back, let's go.
or watching along at the edge of your seat,
A duo taking down a trio!
let's create moments from the games you love.
Now take it.
Join us and subscribe to our channel to follow everything esports on PlayStation.
PlayStation